Number 1. Your memory isn't a recording. It's a creative writer. We place an immense faith in our memories, treating them as faithful archives of our past, a high-definition camera that records events with perfect, objective accuracy. But the unsettling truth, confirmed by decades of neuroscience, is far stranger and more profound. Your memory is not a sterile recording device. It is an active, imaginative, and often unreliable storyteller. Every time you recall an event, you are not simply accessing a static file and playing it back. Your brain actively reconstructs the memory from scattered fragments of sensory and emotional information. In this delicate process of reconstruction, crucial details are often omitted, new elements are unconsciously added, and the entire emotional tone of the event can be subtly altered to better align with your current beliefs, your mood, and your concept of self. This is why two people can witness the exact same event and emerge with vastly different, yet equally sincere, recollections. Your memory is not fundamentally concerned with historical accuracy. Its primary evolutionary job is to create a coherent narrative that makes sense of your life and reinforces your current identity. It will edit, embellish, and even invent details to ensure that the story of you remains consistent and functional. The past, therefore, is not a fixed landscape you can revisit. It is a fluid, ever-changing story that your mind is constantly rewriting in the present moment. Number 2. The you of today will be a stranger in 10 years. We have a deep, instinctual belief in a continuous and stable self. We feel like the same person who existed yesterday, last year, and a decade ago. But this sense of continuity is another one of the mind's most elegant illusions. The unsettling truth is that the you of today is a temporary state. In 10 years, you will look back on your current self as a stranger, a different person with different beliefs, priorities, and a different way of seeing the world. This is not a metaphor. It is a neurological and psychological reality. Your brain is in a constant state of flux, a process known as neuroplasticity. Every new experience, every book you read, every conversation you have physically rewires its structure. Old neural pathways weaken and new ones form, fundamentally changing the architecture of your mind. Simultaneously, your cells are constantly replacing themselves, and your personality evolves with new life experiences. The person you are right now is a snapshot, a single frame in the long, continuous movie of your existence. This can be unsettling because it dissolves the comforting idea of a solid, permanent self. But it is also incredibly liberating. It means you are not defined by your past mistakes or your present limitations. You have the inherent capacity to become someone entirely new. Number 3. Your logic is a public relations agent for your emotions. We pride ourselves on being rational creatures. We believe we make important decisions by carefully weighing pros and cons, using logic and reason to arrive at the best possible conclusion. The unsettling truth, however, is that we are not thinking machines. We are feeling machines that think. The vast majority of your decisions, especially the most significant ones, are made first in the emotional, subconscious parts of your brain. What you call logic is often just a story your conscious mind creates afterward to justify that pre-existing emotional choice. Your rational mind is not the wise king making decisions on the throne. It is the public relations agent, tasked with spinning a logical narrative for a decision that has already been made by the heart. This is why appealing to pure facts and data so rarely changes a person's deeply held beliefs. Their belief is not based on facts, it is an emotional position. To accept your facts, they would have to first abandon their emotional identity. Recognizing this truth is both humbling and empowering. It reminds us to pay attention to our gut feelings and emotional states as valid sources of information, and to be skeptical of our own perfectly crafted logical justifications. Number 4. You're not the main character in anyone else's life. We experience the world from a single, first-person perspective. Our own thoughts, feelings, and dramas are intensely vivid and occupy the center stage of our awareness. This creates a powerful, deeply ingrained illusion that we are the main character in the grand story of life. The unsettling truth is that you are only the main character in your own story. In the story of everyone else's life, your parents, your partner, your best friend, your boss, you are, at best, a supporting character. At worst, you are a background extra, a fleeting cameo they barely notice. They are not obsessing over your mistakes or analyzing your every word. They are, like you, completely absorbed in their own movie, where they are the star. This is the reality of the spotlight effect. We consistently overestimate how much attention other people are paying to us. This realization can feel deflating to the ego, which craves to be the center of the universe. But it is also incredibly liberating. It means you are free. You are free to make mistakes, to try new things, to be awkward and to fail, because the audience you imagine is watching so intently is, for the most part, not paying attention. Number 5. Your confidence is highest when your knowledge is lowest. We tend to associate confidence with expertise. We believe that the more someone knows about a subject, the more confident they will be. However, a profoundly unsettling psychological truth known as the Dunning-Kruger effect reveals the opposite is often true. True expertise often breeds humility and an awareness of complexity. It is the beginner, the novice with only a little bit of knowledge, who is most likely to be supremely and unshakably confident. Their limited knowledge prevents them from recognizing the vastness of their own ignorance. They don't know what they don't know, and so they operate with a blissful, unearned certainty. This is the peak of Mount Stupid, as it's often called. It's the point where a little learning feels like a lot. As a person's knowledge actually increases, their confidence paradoxically plummets. They begin to understand the nuances, the exceptions, and the deep complexities of the subject. They become acutely aware of how much they still have to learn. It is only after years of dedicated practice that their confidence begins to rise again. But this time, it is a quieter, more humble, and more realistic confidence. This truth is unsettling because it forces us to be skeptical of our own loudest certainties. It suggests that the moment you feel absolutely sure about a complex topic, you are likely in the most dangerous phase of your learning journey. Number 6. Your inner critic is just the echo of someone else's voice. There is a persistent, nagging voice in our heads. It is the voice of self-doubt, of criticism, and of judgment. It tells us we are not good enough, that we will fail, that we are unworthy. We often mistake this voice for our own, a rational, objective assessment of our flaws. The unsettling truth, however, is that your inner critic is not you. It is a ghost. It is a recording. It is the internalized echo of a voice from your past, a critical parent, a judgmental teacher, or a society that imposed its standards upon you. During your formative years, your subconscious mind, in a desperate attempt to keep you safe and ensure you belonged, recorded these external criticisms and adopted them as an internal warning system. This program was created with a protective intention. If I criticize myself first, I can avoid the pain of being criticized by others. The problem is that this program is now running on obsolete hardware in a world that no longer applies. Recognizing this is the key to disarming it. When you hear that critical voice, you can learn to see it not as the truth, but as an echo. By creating this separation, you reclaim your power. You are no longer the victim of your inner critic. You are the calm, compassionate observer of an old, outdated program. Number 7. Your brain is hardwired to forget happiness and remember threats. We strive for happiness, believing it is a state we can achieve and hold on to. We collect happy memories and moments of joy, hoping to build a foundation of contentment. The unsettling truth, however, is that your brain is not designed for happiness. It is designed for survival. This is due to a powerful evolutionary mechanism known as the negativity bias. For our ancient ancestors living in a dangerous world, it was far more important to remember the location of a predator than it was to remember a beautiful sunset. The brain that was hyper-aware of threats was the brain that survived. As a result, your modern brain has inherited this Velcro for bad experiences, Teflon for good ones programming. Negative experiences, criticism, and fear are registered almost instantly and are quickly stored in long-term memory. Positive experiences, on the other hand, often need to be held in your conscious awareness for a sustained period for them to be transferred from short-term to long-term memory. This is why a single negative comment can ruin a day filled with compliments. Recognizing this biological programming is not a cause for despair, but for strategic action. It means that cultivating happiness requires conscious and deliberate effort. We must actively savor positive moments and practice gratitude to override our brain's default setting for survival. Number 8. Your senses are a prison, filtering out most of reality. We experience the world through our five senses, and we tend to believe they provide us with a complete and accurate picture of reality. We trust what we see, hear, and touch. The unsettling truth is that your senses are not a window to reality. They are a highly specialized and extremely limited filter. They are a sensory prison. Your eyes can only perceive a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, which we call visible light. You are completely blind to radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, and gamma rays. Your ears can only detect a narrow range of sound frequencies, deaf to the ultrasonic cries of a bat or the infrasonic rumbles of an earthquake. Your entire perception of the universe is a heavily edited, user-friendly interface that has been fine-tuned by evolution for one purpose: to help a bipedal ape survive on planet Earth. It is not designed to show you reality as it is. It is designed to show you a simplified, useful version. The solid table in front of you is, at a deeper level, mostly empty space. The colors you see do not exist in the objects themselves. They are an invention of your brain. The reality you experience is a bespoke, species-specific hallucination. Number 9. You don't seek truth. You seek confirmation of your beliefs. We see ourselves as rational beings, open-minded seekers of objective truth. We believe we form our opinions based on a careful evaluation of the available facts. The unsettling truth is that for the most part, we do the exact opposite. We are not seekers of truth. We are seekers of confirmation. This powerful psychological tendency is called confirmation bias. Once we have formed a belief, our subconscious mind works tirelessly to protect it. It actively seeks out information, evidence, and opinions that support our existing worldview, while simultaneously ignoring or discrediting any information that contradicts it. Your mind is not a scientist impartially testing a hypothesis. It is a lawyer hired to defend a client it has already decided is innocent. This is why it is so difficult to change someone's mind with facts. Presenting contradictory evidence often has the opposite effect. It can cause the person to double down on their original belief, a phenomenon known as the backfire effect. Their subconscious mind perceives the new information not as an opportunity to learn, but as a threat to their identity. Recognizing this bias is a profound act of intellectual humility. It requires us to actively seek out perspectives that challenge our own and to question our own certainties. Number 10. Physical pain is a negotiable opinion from your brain. We experience physical pain as a direct, objective, and unavoidable sensation. If you touch a hot stove, you feel a burning pain. It seems simple. The unsettling truth, however, is that pain is not a direct signal from your body tissues to your mind. Pain is a complex, 100% subjective opinion created by your brain to protect you. It is a danger signal, not a measure of actual tissue damage. The nerves in your body send danger signals to the brain, but it is the brain, and the brain alone, that decides whether to create the experience of pain and how intense that pain should be. This decision is based on a huge amount of contextual information, your past experiences, your beliefs about the situation, and your emotional state. This is why a soldier in battle might not feel a serious wound until they're safe. Their brain has decided that survival is more important than signaling the pain at that moment. It is also why the placebo effect is so powerful. If you believe a sugar pill will relieve your pain, it often will, because your belief has influenced the brain's decision. This truth blurs the line between what is real and what is in our heads. It reveals that even our most raw experiences are being constantly interpreted by our subconscious mind. Number 11. You justify your choices after you make them, not before. We believe our major life choices are the result of careful, conscious deliberation. We create lists of pros and cons. We analyze the options, and then we make a rational decision. The unsettling truth is that for many of our choices, the process is reversed. Our subconscious, intuitive, and emotional mind often makes the decision for us, almost instantly. Then our conscious, rational mind is tasked with the job of creating a logical-sounding story to justify the choice that has already been made. This phenomenon, known as choice supportive bias or post hoc rationalization, means that we are often masters of self-deception, constructing elaborate reasons for actions that were fundamentally driven by instinct or a gut feeling. Studies have shown that our brains often show signs of having made a decision seconds before we are consciously aware of having made it. We think we're the ones in the driver's seat, but we are often just the narrator, describing a journey whose course has already been set. After we make a choice, we tend to retroactively amplify its positive attributes and downplay its negatives. This is a protective mechanism. It reduces post-decision regret. But it also means we are not the rational architects of our lives we believe ourselves to be. Number 12. The words you know build the walls of your reality. We think of language as a neutral tool we use to describe the world. We believe that there is an objective reality out there, and we simply apply words to the things we see. The unsettling truth is that language does not just describe reality, it actively creates it. The words you know, the grammatical structures of your native tongue, build the very walls and furniture of your mental world. This concept, known as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis or linguistic relativity, suggests that the language you speak shapes and limits the thoughts you are capable of thinking. You cannot easily think a concept for which you have no word. For example, some languages have dozens of words for different types of snow, allowing their speakers to perceive and experience distinctions in the snow that an English speaker would be completely blind to. Other languages have no distinct words for blue and green, and their speakers have more difficulty distinguishing between those two colors. The language you were taught is not a universal tool. It is a specific cultural filter that determines what you notice, what you ignore, and how you categorize your entire experience of the world. It is a cage, albeit a very large and comfortable one. This is profoundly unsettling because it means that our objective understanding of the world is, in large part, an artifact of our linguistic programming. Number 13. Your body is a library of every emotion you never processed. We tend to think of emotions as fleeting, intangible experiences that happen in our minds. We feel anger, sadness, or fear, and then the feeling passes and we believe it is gone. The unsettling truth is that emotions are not just mental events. They are physiological events. Every emotion releases a cascade of chemicals, hormones, and neurotransmitters that flood our bodies. When these emotions are not fully processed and released, this chemical and energetic residue can become trapped in our physical tissues, a phenomenon often referred to as the body keeping the score. Chronic tension in your shoulders, unexplained knots in your stomach, or persistent tightness in your jaw are often not just physical issues. They are the physical manifestation of stored, unexpressed emotional energy. Your body is the physical archive of your subconscious mind. Past traumas, unresolved grief, and chronic stress don't just live in your memory, they live in your cells. This is why a certain physical posture can trigger an old emotional state, or why a deep tissue massage can sometimes lead to a sudden, unexpected release of sadness or anger. The body is attempting to release the old, stagnant energy it has been holding on to, sometimes for decades. This truth is unsettling because it means we cannot simply think our way out of our past. We must also learn to listen to the wisdom of our bodies. Number 14. Your sense of control is a carefully maintained illusion. A fundamental pillar of our ego is the belief that we are in control. We believe we are the authors of our own success, the masters of our destiny, and that our choices directly and predictably shape our outcomes. The unsettling truth is that our sense of control is in large part a cognitive illusion. We consistently and dramatically overestimate our influence over events, especially those that are complex or random. This is known as the illusion of control. We press the closed door button on an elevator, believing it makes the door close faster, even when it is often not connected to anything. We perform small rituals before a big event, believing our actions can influence a random outcome. This illusion is a powerful psychological coping mechanism. Believing we are in control reduces anxiety and provides a sense of agency in a chaotic and often unpredictable world. It is more comforting to believe that a bad outcome was the result of our own mistake than to accept the terrifying reality that some things are simply outside of our influence. This is why we create elaborate narratives of cause and effect to explain random events. We are desperate to find a pattern because the alternative, that much of our life is governed by chance, by luck, and by forces far beyond our command, is deeply unsettling to the ego. Number 15. Your dreams are your subconscious cleaning up your daily mental mess. We often dismiss our dreams as meaningless, random firings of a sleeping brain, or as bizarre, surreal fantasies. We wake up from a strange dream and say, "That was just a dream," and move on with our day. The unsettling truth is that your dreams are far from meaningless. They are one of the most direct, albeit symbolic, forms of communication from your subconscious mind. Every night, your subconscious acts as a masterful data processor, sorting through the immense amount of information, unresolved emotions, and sensory input from your waking hours. Dreams are the visible byproduct of this nightly emotional and cognitive digestion. They are your mind's attempt to make sense of the mess. The language of dreams is not logical, it is metaphorical. A dream about being chased is rarely about a literal pursuer. It is more likely a symbolic representation of an anxiety you are avoiding, or a part of yourself you are refusing to confront. A dream of flying might represent a feeling of freedom and empowerment. The people, places, and objects in your dreams are symbols, drawn from your personal memory archive and assigned new meanings to fit the emotional narrative your subconscious is trying to process. Recurring dreams are a sign that there is a specific piece of unresolved data that your subconscious is repeatedly trying to process. They are a nightly report from the invisible master within. Number 16. You judge others by their actions, but give yourself credit for your intentions. When we observe other people's behavior, especially their mistakes, we tend to make swift and often harsh judgments. If someone cuts us off in traffic, we think, "What a selfish, inconsiderate person." If a colleague misses a deadline, we think they are lazy and unreliable. We attribute their actions directly to their character. This is known as the fundamental attribution error. The unsettling truth is that we apply a completely different set of rules to ourselves. When we make a mistake, we rarely attribute it to our character. Instead, we justify our actions based on our intentions and our circumstances. If we cut someone off in traffic, it's because we were in a hurry and we didn't see them. If we miss a deadline, it's because we were overloaded. We give ourselves the benefit of a rich, complex inner world filled with good intentions, while we often see others as one-dimensional characters defined solely by their observable actions. We judge them by their results. We judge ourselves by our story. This deep-seated cognitive bias is a powerful mechanism for protecting our own ego. Recognizing this bias is a profound step towards greater wisdom and compassion. It requires us to learn to give others the same benefit of the doubt that we so automatically give to ourselves. Number 17. You cling to bad decisions to justify your past effort. Imagine you have spent hours waiting in line for a movie that within the first 20 minutes you realize is terrible. The logical thing to do would be to leave and use your time more wisely. Yet most people will stay and watch the entire film. This irrational tendency is a powerful cognitive bias known as the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost is the time, money, or effort that you have already invested and cannot get back. The unsettling truth is that our subconscious mind has an incredibly difficult time letting go of these sunk costs. We feel that if we abandon the effort now, our initial investment will have been wasted. So, to justify our past effort, we continue to invest in a bad decision, a failing project, or a toxic relationship, throwing good money after bad. This bias is not driven by logic, but by a deep emotional need to be consistent and to avoid the feeling of having made a mistake. The ego finds it very difficult to admit, "I was wrong. I wasted my time." It is psychologically easier to create a narrative that justifies the continued effort. Recognizing the sunk cost fallacy is a superpower. It allows you to make decisions based on the present and the future, rather than being held hostage by the past. It grants you the freedom to change your mind and to walk out of the terrible movie of a bad situation. Number 18. The good old days you miss never actually existed. Nostalgia is a powerful and often comforting emotion. It is a sentimental longing for a past that we perceive as being better, simpler, and happier than the present. We look back on our childhood, our youth, or a previous era with a warm golden glow. The unsettling truth is that the good old days you so fondly remember never actually existed, at least not in the way your memory presents them. Nostalgia is not an accurate recollection of the past. It is a highly edited, curated, and often fictionalized narrative created by your mind. It is a form of psychological self-soothing. Your memory is notoriously unreliable, especially when it comes to emotion. It has a powerful tendency to filter out the negative, the boring, and the mundane aspects of the past, while amplifying the positive and memorable moments. You remember the sunny days of summer vacation, but you forget the boredom. You remember the excitement of a first love, but you forget the anxiety. Your mind creates a highlight reel, a greatest hits collection of the past, and presents it to you as the complete picture. This romanticized version of the past serves a purpose. It provides comfort when the present feels difficult. However, it becomes a problem when we believe this fictionalized past was objectively better. Number 19. Your brain actively hallucinates to fill in perceptual gaps. We experience our perception of the world as a continuous, high-definition stream of information. It feels seamless and complete. The unsettling truth is that this feeling of completeness is a grand illusion, a masterpiece of editing performed by your brain every second of every day. Your sensory organs are actually full of gaps and limitations. For example, in the back of each of your eyes, there's a blind spot where the optic nerve connects to the retina. There are no photoreceptor cells there, so you are technically blind in that part of your visual field. But you don't experience a black hole in your vision. Why? Because your brain actively and seamlessly fills in the missing information. It takes the data from the surrounding area and makes an educated guess about what should be in the blind spot, and then it literally hallucinates that information and presents it to you as reality. You are not seeing what is there. You are seeing what your brain predicts should be there. This is not an isolated glitch. It is the fundamental way your brain works. It is constantly receiving incomplete data, and its job is to construct a coherent, useful model of reality. This model is, in essence, a controlled hallucination. This is profoundly unsettling, as it means the solid reality you believe you are perceiving is actually a highly creative and predictive construct. Number 20. Your beliefs can physically alter your body's chemistry. We tend to draw a sharp line between the mind and the body, between our intangible beliefs and our tangible physical health. The unsettling truth is that this line does not truly exist. Your beliefs are not just abstract thoughts. They are powerful biological signals that can profoundly alter your body's chemistry and physical state. The most dramatic and well-documented example of this is the placebo effect. A placebo is a substance with no active medicinal properties, like a sugar pill. Yet, when a person believes that a placebo will heal them, they often experience real, measurable, physiological improvements. Their pain diminishes, their inflammation reduces, and their symptoms improve. This is not just in their head. The belief itself triggers the brain to release its own powerful, natural pharmacy of chemicals, such as endorphins, natural painkillers, and dopamine, which influences motivation and reward. The body begins to heal itself because the mind has been given a powerful story of healing. The flip side is the nocebo effect, where a negative belief can create negative physical symptoms. This reveals a profound power we all possess. A persistent belief in stress and fear will keep your body flooded with corrosive stress hormones. A deeply held belief in hope and safety can create a chemical environment that promotes well-being. The stories you tell yourself are biological instructions for your cells. Number 21. Your desire for comfort is your greatest enemy. We are creatures of comfort. Our deepest biological and psychological drives are geared toward seeking safety, predictability, and ease. We build routines, we surround ourselves with the familiar, and we avoid situations that cause us discomfort or uncertainty. We believe that comfort is the goal, the prize for our hard work. The unsettling truth is that your desire for comfort, while natural, is the single greatest obstacle to your growth, your potential, and a truly meaningful life. The comfort zone is not a safe harbor. It is a gilded cage that slowly and quietly suffocates your spirit. Real growth, whether it is physical, intellectual, or emotional, only ever happens at the edge of your comfort zone. It is in the space of discomfort that muscles tear and rebuild stronger, that new skills are forged through frustrating practice, and that resilience is built by facing what scares you. The ego, however, hates this space. It equates discomfort with danger. It will generate 1,000 rational-sounding excuses to keep you safe within the familiar walls of what you already know. But a life lived entirely within the comfort zone is a life of stagnation. It is a slow fade into irrelevance. The paradox is that the very safety you seek in comfort is what ultimately guarantees you will never become the person you have the potential to be. Number 22. Your brain is biologically programmed for laziness. You might berate yourself for procrastinating, for choosing the easy option, or for a perceived lack of motivation. You might label yourself as lazy. The unsettling truth is that this laziness is not a personal character flaw. It is a fundamental and highly efficient feature of your biological programming. Your brain evolved over millions of years in an environment where energy was scarce and survival was paramount. As a result, it is hardwired with a simple, powerful directive. Conserve energy at all costs, unless it is absolutely necessary for survival or reproduction. Every time you choose the couch over the gym or scrolling on your phone over working on a difficult project, you are not being weak. Your brain is simply obeying its ancient default programming. This principle is known as the law of least effort. Your brain will always seek the most energy-efficient pathway. This is why habits are so powerful. Once a behavior is automated, it consumes far less cognitive energy than making a conscious choice. This biological drive for energy conservation is why starting something new is so difficult. It requires a huge initial burst of energy to overcome the inertia and forge a new neural pathway. Understanding this isn't an excuse for inaction, but a strategic insight. It means that to overcome procrastination, you cannot rely on motivation alone. You must use strategies that work with your brain's programming, such as making new habits as small and easy as possible to start, or creating an environment that makes the desired action the path of least resistance. Number 23. Willpower is a finite resource you run out of every day. We think of willpower as a moral virtue, a measure of character. We believe that people who are disciplined simply have more of it. The unsettling truth is that willpower is not a personality trait. It is a finite biological resource, much like the charge in a battery. Every conscious decision you make throughout the day, from choosing what to eat for breakfast, to resisting the urge to check your phone, to forcing yourself to focus on a difficult task, draws down on this limited supply. This phenomenon is known as ego depletion. The more decisions you make, the more you deplete your willpower, and the more likely you are to make poor choices later on. This is why you might find it easy to eat a healthy lunch, but find it nearly impossible to resist junk food late at night after a long, stressful day. It's not that you became a different person, it's that your decision battery is empty. This is also why creating strong automatic habits is so crucial. Habits don't require willpower. They run on a different system. By automating positive behaviors, you conserve your precious willpower for the moments when you truly need it. This truth is unsettling because it removes the moral judgment from laziness or lack of discipline. It reveals that success is often not about having more willpower, but about being a better manager of the limited willpower you have. It's a game of energy conservation, not moral superiority. Number 24. Your rational political stance is almost entirely tribal. We believe our political views are the product of careful thought, rational analysis of policies, and a deep-seated personal moral compass. We feel we have arrived at our conclusions independently. The unsettling truth is that for the vast majority of people, political affiliation is not an intellectual position. It is an act of tribal identity. Your brain is hardwired with a primal need to belong to a group, an in-group, for safety and survival. Once you identify with a political tribe, whether it is left, right, or something else, your brain's primary motivation shifts from seeking objective truth to defending the tribe. Your confirmation bias goes into overdrive. You will actively seek out news sources and opinions that validate your tribe's worldview, and you will dismiss or attack any information that challenges it, regardless of its factual merit. This is not because you are unintelligent. It is because your subconscious mind understands that being ostracized from the tribe is a far greater threat to your well-being than being wrong about a particular policy. Your political stance is less about a set of beliefs and more about a set of social signals that tell others, "I am one of you." This is why political arguments are so often fruitless and emotionally charged. You are not debating facts, you are challenging someone's very sense of identity and belonging. Number 25. You prefer the pain of a familiar problem over the fear of an unknown solution. We consciously claim to want change. We want to solve our problems, to escape our difficult situations, and to create a better life. We complain about our current circumstances and dream of a different future. The unsettling truth, however, is that the human mind, at a deep subconscious level, often prefers the predictable pain of a familiar problem over the terrifying uncertainty of an unknown solution. There is a strange and powerful comfort in our own misery. We know its shape, its weight, and its rules. We have developed coping mechanisms and a whole identity around it. It is known territory. A solution, on the other hand, represents the unknown. Embarking on a new path, even one that promises a better outcome, means entering a space where we don't know the rules. It involves risk, the possibility of failure, and the shedding of an old, familiar identity. This fear of the unknown is often so powerful that it keeps us subconsciously anchored to our problems. We unconsciously sabotage our own efforts to change because the success we claim to want is in reality more frightening than the pain we are used to. This is why people stay in jobs they hate, in relationships that hurt them, and in habits that harm them. It is not always because they lack the strength to leave, but because they lack the courage to face the vast, unpredictable open space of a new beginning. Number 26. We unconsciously believe attractive people are better people. We consciously believe in judging people based on their character, their actions, and their intelligence. We strive to be fair and objective. The unsettling truth is that our subconscious minds are deeply and profoundly biased by physical attractiveness. This powerful cognitive bias is known as the halo effect. When we perceive a person as being physically attractive, we unconsciously project a whole host of other positive qualities onto them. We automatically assume they are also more intelligent, more competent, more trustworthy, and more kind than their less attractive counterparts. We place a halo of virtue over them, based on nothing more than the symmetry of their features. This bias has massive, real-world consequences. Studies have shown that attractive people are more likely to be hired for jobs, to receive higher salaries, to get more lenient sentences in court, and to be perceived as more persuasive. This happens automatically and unconsciously. We're making these judgments without even realizing we're doing it. This is not to say that attractive people are better, but that our brains are hardwired with a primitive shortcut that equates physical health and symmetry with overall genetic fitness and positive traits. Recognizing the halo effect is a crucial step towards making more conscious and fair judgments. It requires us to actively question our first impressions and to deliberately seek out evidence of a person's character, rather than allowing our subconscious to be seduced by the superficial glow of their appearance. Number 27. In a crowd, your morality diffuses into inaction. You believe you are a good person. You believe that if you witnessed an emergency, a person in distress, you would immediately step in to help. The unsettling truth is that the mere presence of other people dramatically reduces the likelihood that you will intervene. This chilling psychological phenomenon is known as the bystander effect. It's not that people in a crowd are less moral. It's that the sense of individual responsibility becomes diffused, spread thinly across the entire group. In a crowd, we subconsciously assume that someone else will act, that someone else is more qualified, or that the situation must not be a real emergency if no one else is reacting. This leads to a state of collective inaction, a pluralistic ignorance, where everyone is looking to everyone else for cues on how to behave. And since no one is acting, everyone concludes that inaction is the correct response. The more people who are present, the less likely it is that any single one of them will offer help. This is a terrifying thought. It means that the very thing we associate with safety, being in a group, can create the conditions for our greatest moral failures. The bystander effect reveals that our capacity for heroic action is fragile and highly dependent on context. It is much easier to be a hero when you are the only one there. When responsibility is shared, it often becomes no one's responsibility at all. This forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that our own moral courage may not be as reliable as we would like to believe. Number 28. You will agree with an obvious lie to avoid social discomfort. You see yourself as an independent thinker, someone who stands up for the truth and is not easily swayed by peer pressure. The unsettling truth is that your desire to belong is so powerful that you are capable of agreeing with an obvious, provable falsehood simply to avoid the social discomfort of being the lone dissenter. This was famously demonstrated in the Asch conformity experiments. In these studies, a subject was placed in a room with a group of actors and asked to perform a simple visual task. The actors would all intentionally give the same, obviously incorrect answer. A startling percentage of the real subjects, when it was their turn, would conform to the group's wrong answer, even though they knew it was incorrect. They did this not because they were convinced, but because the psychological pressure to conform, to not rock the boat, was more powerful than their commitment to stating the objective truth. The momentary fear of social rejection, of being seen as the outsider, was enough to make them betray their own perception of reality. This phenomenon operates in our daily lives in countless subtle ways. In meetings where everyone agrees with a bad idea. In social circles where no one challenges a problematic joke. And in families where uncomfortable truths are silently ignored. It reveals that our social survival instinct is often stronger than our rational mind. Our brain understands at a primal level that being accepted by the tribe is often more important for our well-being than being right. Number 29. You outsource your thinking to whatever the crowd is doing. We believe we make our own choices, from what to buy, to what to believe, to how to behave. The unsettling truth is that we are constantly and unconsciously outsourcing our decision-making to the people around us. This powerful psychological shortcut is known as social proof. When we are uncertain about how to act or what to think, we don't look for objective facts, we look to see what the crowd is doing. We subconsciously assume that if a lot of people are doing something, it must be the right thing to do. This is a deeply ingrained survival instinct. In our evolutionary past, straying from the tribe's behavior could be fatal. Social proof is the engine behind trends, fads, and social manias. It's why we are more likely to eat at a restaurant that is busy than one that is empty. It's why products with thousands of positive reviews seem more trustworthy. It's why we might adopt a belief or an opinion simply because everyone in our social circle seems to hold it. We are using the behavior of the crowd as a mental shortcut, a substitute for our own critical thinking. This is efficient, but it is also dangerous. It can lead to collective irrationality, where entire groups of people adopt a harmful belief or behavior simply because everyone else is doing it. The uncomfortable reality is that we are not the independent thinkers we believe ourselves to be. We are deeply social creatures, constantly looking over our shoulder to see which way the herd is moving. Number 30. Your brain is hardwired to divide the world into us and them. We strive for a world of unity, tolerance, and universal humanism. We believe in judging people as individuals. The unsettling truth is that our brains are fundamentally and powerfully hardwired for tribalism. A core survival mechanism from our deep past is the ability to instantly and automatically categorize people into one of two groups: in-group, us, and out-group, them. This process is immediate and subconscious. The in-group consists of people who share our perceived characteristics, our family, our community, our nation, our sports team, our political party. We are biased to see them as more trustworthy, more intelligent, and more moral. We feel an innate sense of loyalty and empathy towards them. Conversely, the out-group consists of everyone else. Our brains are predisposed to view them with suspicion, to attribute negative motives to their actions, and to dehumanize them in subtle ways. This ancient programming is the root of prejudice, stereotypes, and conflict. It is incredibly easy to trigger. Studies have shown that simply dividing people into arbitrary groups, like the red team and the blue team, is enough to create instant loyalty to one's own group and hostility towards the other. While our conscious modern minds can strive to overcome this bias, we must acknowledge that we are fighting against a deep and powerful evolutionary current. The unsettling reality is that tribalism is not a learned ideology, it is a biological default setting. Number 31. Every social interaction is a silent negotiation for status. We like to think of our social interactions as good-willed exchanges between equals, based on mutual respect and genuine connection. While that is part of the story, there is an unsettling truth operating just beneath the surface. Nearly every social interaction is a subtle, silent, and unconscious negotiation for status. Status in this context is not about wealth or fame, but about our relative position in a social hierarchy. It's about who is perceived as more valuable, more influential, or more dominant in any given context. Our brains are obsessively tracking these microtransactions. This negotiation happens through subtle cues. Who holds eye contact longer? Whose posture is more expansive? Who interrupts whom? Who tells a more engaging story? And whose opinions are given more weight? We are constantly signaling our own status and reading the signals of others. This is a primal, evolutionary drive. In our ancestral past, higher status meant better access to resources, mates, and safety. Though the stakes are different now, the underlying software is the same. Recognizing this invisible game is not about becoming cynical or manipulative. It is about understanding a fundamental dynamic of human interaction. It allows you to navigate social situations with greater awareness, to understand why people behave the way they do, and to consciously choose how you wish to participate in this ancient, unavoidable dance. Number 32. A free gift creates an unseen debt you're compelled to repay. There is almost no such thing as a free gift. When someone gives us something, even with no apparent strings attached, it triggers a powerful psychological mechanism deep within our subconscious, the principle of reciprocity. This principle creates a feeling of indebtedness, a strong, often uncomfortable social obligation to repay the favor in the future. This is not a conscious calculation. It is a primal instinct that has been crucial for social cooperation throughout human history. The person who gives first establishes a subtle social power over the receiver until the debt is repaid. This is one of the most powerful tools of influence and persuasion. A salesperson might offer you a free sample, a colleague might do you a small favor, or a company might give you a free trial. In each case, they are creating a subconscious psychological debt. You are now more likely to buy the product, to agree to a future request, or to feel a sense of loyalty. The unsettling truth is that this feeling of obligation can be manipulated to make us agree to things we would have otherwise refused. The gift was not a gift, it was a deposit. Understanding this allows you to recognize when this principle is being used on you and to make more conscious choices about the free things you accept. Number 33. You unconsciously like people more after you do them a favor. Our common sense tells us that we do favors for people we like. The unsettling truth, a strange psychological quirk known as the Ben Franklin effect, is that the reverse is often more powerful. We like people more after we have done a favor for them. When we perform an act of kindness for someone, our brain faces a moment of cognitive dissonance if we don't already have strong feelings about them. Our subconscious mind reasons, "Why did I just do something nice for that person? I am a smart, rational individual, so I must have done it because I like them." To resolve this dissonance, our brain retroactively increases our positive feelings towards that person to justify our own action. We essentially convince ourselves that the person was worthy of our effort. This is a subtle but powerful form of self-persuasion. Ben Franklin famously used this technique by asking a rival legislator to lend him a rare book. After returning the book with a thank you note, the rival, having performed this small favor, began to view Franklin much more favorably, and they eventually became friends. This principle reveals a strange truth about human connection. Sometimes the best way to build a bridge is not to give, but to graciously ask for a small, manageable favor. You are not just receiving help, you are giving the other person a subconscious reason to like you more. Number 34. Gossip is not a flaw. It's a primal tool for social survival. We publicly condemn gossip as a lowbrow, negative, and harmful activity. We are taught that it is a character flaw to talk about others behind their backs. The unsettling truth is that gossip is not a modern flaw. It is a fundamental, primal, and highly effective tool for social survival that is deeply embedded in our evolutionary programming. For our ancient ancestors living in small, tight-knit tribes, knowing the social landscape was a matter of life and death. Who can be trusted? Who is a reliable partner? Who is cheating the system? Who holds power? This critical information was not published in a newsletter. It was exchanged through gossip. Gossip serves several crucial functions. It helps us build social maps, understanding the complex web of relationships and alliances within our group. It acts as a powerful bonding mechanism, as sharing secret information creates a sense of trust and intimacy between individuals. Most importantly, it is a tool for enforcing social norms. The fear of being the subject of negative gossip is a powerful deterrent that encourages cooperation and discourages selfish behavior. While it can certainly be used for malicious purposes, gossip, at its core, is a form of social information processing. It is the original social network, a way for the tribe to police itself and ensure its own cohesion. The uncomfortable reality is that we are all hardwired to be both interested in and participants in this ancient social game. Number 35. You unconsciously absorb the anxiety and joy of people around you. We like to think of our emotions as our own, private, internal experiences. We believe we are in control of our own moods. The unsettling truth is that our emotional states are incredibly permeable and are constantly being influenced by the people around us. This phenomenon is called emotional contagion. We are hardwired with a system of mirror neurons in our brains that cause us to unconsciously mimic the facial expressions, body language, and vocal tones of those we interact with. When we see someone smile, our own smile muscles subtly activate. When we see someone frown in distress, our own face mirrors that pain. This mimicry is not just physical. It triggers the corresponding emotional state within us. If you spend time with an anxious, frantic person, you will likely begin to feel a sense of unease and agitation yourself, without any logical reason. If you spend time with a calm, joyful person, you will often feel your own mood lift. We are catching emotions from others, much like a common cold. This has profound implications for our well-being. It means that the people you choose to surround yourself with are not just companions, they are emotional regulators. They are constantly and silently tuning your nervous system. The unsettling reality is that your emotional state is far less yours than you think. It is, in large part, a reflection of the collective emotional state of your tribe. Number 36. You don't have one true self. You have multiple masks for multiple stages. We are on a constant search for our true self, an authentic core identity that is stable and consistent across all situations. We believe that if we can just find this true self, we will have found our purpose. The unsettling truth is that a single monolithic true self may not actually exist. What you have instead is a collection of different selves or masks that you skillfully and often unconsciously deploy for different social stages. The you that you are with your parents is different from the you that you are with your best friends. The you at work is different from the you that you are when you are completely alone. This is not a sign of being inauthentic or fake. It is a sign of high social intelligence. This is a concept known as self-monitoring. We are constantly reading the social context and adjusting our behavior, our language, and our emotional expression to fit the unwritten rules of that particular stage. This is a necessary tool for navigating a complex social world. The problem arises when we believe that one of these masks is the real us and the others are false. A more unsettling but perhaps more accurate view is that you are the sum of all your masks. There is no single core identity underneath. There is only the fluid, adaptable performer who knows which mask to wear for which scene. The search for a true self might be a futile quest for something that was never there to begin with. Number 37. Your deepest fear isn't death. It's being cast out of the tribe. We consciously believe that our greatest fear is death, the ultimate cessation of our existence. We build entire philosophies and religions around coping with this fear. The unsettling truth, however, is that there is a fear that lies even deeper in our primal brain, a fear that has shaped our behavior for millions of years, the fear of social rejection. For our ancient ancestors, being cast out of the tribe, being ostracized, was a death sentence. A lone human in a hostile wilderness had almost no chance of survival. Belonging to the group was not a preference, it was a biological necessity. This ancient, visceral fear is still the primary driver of our social behavior today. It is the reason we conform to group opinions, even when we disagree. It is the reason we hesitate to speak our unique truth, for fear of being seen as strange or different. It is the source of social anxiety, the constant low-grade fear of being judged and found wanting. The pain of embarrassment, of humiliation, or of being excluded can feel, on a neurological level, as real and as threatening as physical pain. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between a social threat and a survival threat. To be rejected by the tribe is to die, in the language of our ancient programming. Recognizing this allows us to understand our own social anxieties not as a personal weakness, but as the echo of an ancient and powerful survival instinct. Number 38. A uniform can command your obedience more than a moral argument. We believe our actions are guided by our internal moral compass and our capacity for rational thought. We think we obey authority only when it is legitimate and just. The unsettling truth is that our subconscious minds are incredibly susceptible to the simple, visual symbols of authority, and these symbols can often override our own moral judgment. One of the most powerful of these symbols is a uniform. A uniform, whether it is that of a police officer, a doctor, a scientist, or a security guard, acts as a powerful mental shortcut. It signals legitimacy, expertise, and the right to command. The famous Milgram experiments and countless real-world examples have shown that people are willing to perform actions they find morally questionable when instructed to do so by a figure in a uniform or a lab coat. The uniform itself seems to diffuse their sense of personal responsibility. The subconscious mind reasons, this person is a legitimate authority, they must know what they are doing, I am just following orders. This is a deeply unsettling reality because it reveals how fragile our personal autonomy can be in the face of perceived authority. We are programmed to respect the symbol more than the substance. It demonstrates that the context and a few pieces of clothing can be more persuasive in commanding our behavior than a complex ethical argument or even our own conscience. Number 39. You are programmed to follow confident leaders, even when they're wrong. In a world of uncertainty, we crave certainty. We look for leaders who can provide clear, decisive, and confident answers. We equate confidence with competence. The unsettling truth is that this is a dangerous and often fallacious mental shortcut. We are biologically programmed to follow confident leaders, regardless of the actual merit of their ideas. In our evolutionary past, a hesitant or indecisive leader could lead to the demise of the entire tribe. A leader who projected absolute confidence, even if they were wrong, was more likely to inspire cohesive action and get the group moving, which was often better than paralysis. This ancient bias continues to operate today. We are drawn to politicians, CEOs, and public figures who speak with unwavering certainty and conviction. Their confidence acts as a psychological balm, soothing our own anxiety about the unknown. We subconsciously interpret their confidence as evidence of their competence. The problem, as we know from the Dunning-Kruger effect, is that confidence and competence are not always correlated. In fact, true experts are often less certain, more nuanced, and more aware of the complexities of a situation. The most confident voices in the room are often the least informed. This leaves us vulnerable to being led astray by charismatic but incompetent leaders, simply because our primal brain is wired to mistake bravado for wisdom. Number 40. Individual self-interest is a direct threat to collective survival.
We are raised in cultures that often champion the individual. We are told to pursue our own dreams, to look out for number one, and to compete for our own success. The unsettling truth is that when every individual acts purely in their own rational self-interest, the result is often a collective disaster that harms everyone, including themselves. This is the core of the tragedy of the commons. Imagine a shared pasture, a commons, where multiple herders can graze their cattle. The rational choice for each individual herder is to add as many of their own cattle as possible to maximize their personal profit. But when every herder makes this same rational choice, the pasture is quickly overgrazed, the grass is destroyed, and the shared resource collapses, leading to the ruin of all the herders. This paradox applies to countless real-world situations, from overfishing in our oceans and environmental pollution to traffic jams where every individual driver trying to get ahead creates a collective gridlock. It reveals a fundamental conflict between our short-term individual desires and our long-term collective well-being. The unsettling reality is that for a group to thrive, individuals must be willing to act in ways that are not always in their immediate personal self-interest. This requires trust, regulation, and a sense of shared responsibility, concepts that often run counter to our most basic instincts.
Number 41. The rules of personal space are an invisible, silent battleground. We are rarely conscious of it, but in every social interaction, we are engaged in a silent, invisible negotiation over territory. This territory is our personal space, the bubble of air that surrounds our bodies. The unsettling truth is that the rules governing this space are a powerful, unspoken language of status, intimacy, and power. The amount of space we are allowed to take up and how close we allow others to get is a constant, subtle dance that communicates our relationship and our relative standing. People with higher perceived status are implicitly granted more personal space and have more freedom to invade the space of others. A boss might put a hand on an employee's shoulder, but the reverse would be seen as a serious breach of social protocol. We subconsciously yield more space to those we perceive as dominant. Similarly, the distance we maintain between ourselves and others is a precise indicator of our level of intimacy. There is a public distance, a social distance, a personal distance, and an intimate distance. A violation of these unspoken zones can trigger immediate feelings of discomfort or alarm. This silent battleground of personal space reveals that our interactions are not just about the words we say, but are also a deeply physical and territorial negotiation governed by ancient primal rules of power and belonging. Number 42. Being truly vulnerable is socially perceived as weakness. We are told in modern discourse that vulnerability is a strength, a pathway to authentic connection and courage. And on a deep, personal level, this is true. The unsettling truth, however, is that in the raw, primal arena of social dynamics, the display of genuine vulnerability is often subconsciously perceived as weakness and a signal of low status. Our evolutionary programming is deeply attuned to displays of strength and weakness.
When we express deep uncertainty, admit to a significant failure, or show profound emotional pain, we are, in a social sense, exposing our underbelly. While this can certainly elicit empathy and support from trusted allies, in a competitive or unfamiliar social environment, it can also trigger a predatory or dismissive instinct in others. It can be seen as an invitation for them to assert their dominance or to offer condescending advice. This is why it feels so risky to be truly vulnerable. Our subconscious mind understands the ancient social danger. This creates a profound paradox. The very act required for deep, authentic connection, vulnerability, is also the act that can lead to a loss of social standing and perceived power. Navigating this requires immense social intelligence, knowing when and with whom it is safe to lower your armor, and when it is necessary to keep it firmly in place for your own social and emotional protection. Number 43. Laughter is more about social agreement than it is about humor. We think of laughter as a pure, involuntary reaction to something genuinely funny. The unsettling truth is that most of the laughter that occurs in social situations has very little to do with humor. It is, first and foremost, a powerful social lubricant and a signal of agreement and affiliation. We laugh far more often and more intensely when we are with other people than when we are alone. Laughter is a subconscious way of saying, "I am with you, I understand the social cue, and I am part of this group." Think of a business meeting. When a person in a position of power tells a mediocre joke, the room often erupts in laughter. This is not because the joke was hilarious. It is a collective, subconscious signal of deference and a desire to build rapport with the leader. When you meet someone new, you might share a laugh over a small, barely funny observation. This laughter is a bridge, a way of signaling that you are friendly and non-threatening. It is a form of social grooming. Recognizing this changes how you perceive social interactions. It reveals that much of what we consider to be spontaneous fun is actually a complex, highly regulated performance designed to maintain social bonds and navigate hierarchies. Laughter is less about comedy and more about communication. Number 44. People decide who you are in the first 7 seconds and rarely change their mind. We believe that people will get to know us over time, that our true character will eventually shine through. We hope that our actions and our words will gradually build a complete and accurate picture of who we are in the minds of others. The unsettling truth is that the vast majority of a person's judgment about you is formed in the first few seconds of meeting you. This phenomenon, known as thin slicing, is a rapid subconscious process where the brain makes sweeping, long-lasting judgments based on a very thin slice of information: your posture, your expression, your tone of voice, your appearance. Once this initial impression is formed, it becomes a powerful filter through which all of your future actions are interpreted. This is our old friend confirmation bias at work. If someone's initial impression of you is positive, they will tend to interpret your future actions in a charitable light. If their first impression is negative, they will actively look for evidence to confirm that initial judgment, interpreting even neutral actions as proof of your flawed character. It is incredibly difficult to overturn a bad first impression. It's not impossible, but it requires a massive amount of contradictory evidence to override that initial subconscious programming. This reveals the immense and often unfair importance of the first few moments of any new encounter. The story of who you are in someone else's mind is often written in ink, not pencil, within seconds of your arrival.
Number 45. A shared enemy is a more powerful bonding agent than a shared goal. We like to believe that the strongest human bonds are forged in the pursuit of a positive, shared goal, building a community, creating a work of art, or striving for a better future. The unsettling truth is that often a far more powerful and rapid bonding agent is a shared enemy. This is a fundamental principle of in-group, out-group psychology. The presence of a clearly defined them creates an incredibly strong and immediate sense of us. Nothing unifies a disparate group of individuals faster than a common threat, whether it is real or perceived. This mechanism is used constantly in politics, warfare, and even corporate team building. Leaders understand that by identifying an external rival or a common enemy, they can instantly foster a sense of loyalty, solidarity, and cohesion within their own group. Internal conflicts are forgotten, and individual differences are set aside in the face of the shared threat. The emotional energy is directed outwards, not inwards. This is a primal survival instinct. When the tribe is under attack, everyone must work together. While a shared positive goal can certainly create strong bonds over time, the process is often slower and requires more conscious effort. The raw, immediate, and often irrational power of a shared hatred or fear is a much more efficient and therefore more dangerous tool for social cohesion. Number 46. Most politeness is a form of socially acceptable deception. We value politeness as a virtue, a sign of good character and respect for others. We teach our children to say please and thank you, and to be considerate of other people's feelings. The unsettling truth is that a significant portion of what we call politeness is actually a form of socially acceptable, low-stakes deception. It is a carefully constructed performance designed to lubricate social interactions and avoid the friction of raw, unfiltered honesty. When a colleague asks, "How are you?" you automatically respond, "Fine, thanks," even if you are having a terrible day. This is a social script, a lie we both agree to participate in for the sake of efficiency. When someone shows you a picture of their new baby, you say, "So cute," regardless of your genuine aesthetic judgment. When you are served a meal at a friend's house that you don't enjoy, you compliment the chef. These are not malicious lies. They are acts of social grace designed to protect the other person's feelings and maintain a harmonious relationship. However, it is a form of deception nonetheless. This reveals a fundamental truth about society. It cannot function on a diet of pure, unvarnished honesty. Our social world is built upon a complex and often unacknowledged foundation of white lies, polite fictions, and the mutual agreement to not always say what we are actually thinking. Complete honesty would be brutal and socially unsustainable. Number 47. You often envy the curated fictions of other people's lives.
In the age of social media, we are constantly exposed to the lives of others. We see their beautiful vacations, their successful careers, their happy relationships, and their perfect-looking families. This can often trigger feelings of envy, inadequacy, and the sense that our own life is somehow lacking in comparison. The unsettling truth is that you are not envying another person's real life. You are envying a carefully crafted, highly curated, and often fictional marketing campaign for their life. You are comparing your behind-the-scenes footage, with all its messiness, doubt, and struggle, to someone else's highlight reel. People, by their very nature, present an idealized version of themselves to the world. Social media has simply given them a global platform to do so with unprecedented efficiency. They post the triumphs, not the failures. They post the beautiful moments, not the boring or painful ones. They filter, edit, and crop their reality to create a narrative of success and happiness. Your subconscious mind, however, often accepts these curated images as the complete truth, leading to an unfair and deeply demoralizing comparison. The envy you feel is often for a life that does not actually exist. The truth is that behind every perfect-looking feed is a complex human being with their own private struggles, anxieties, and imperfections, none of which ever make it into the final cut.
Number 48. Social media creates the illusion of connection to mask a deeper loneliness. Social media platforms were designed with the stated goal of connecting people. They promise a world of friendship, community, and belonging, all just a click away. The unsettling truth is that for many, these platforms do the opposite. They create a powerful illusion of connection that can often mask and even exacerbate a deeper, more profound sense of loneliness. We scroll through feeds, collecting likes and friends like a form of social currency. But these are thin, digital substitutes for genuine human interaction. They provide a quick hit of validation, a fleeting sense of being seen, but they lack the depth, nuance, and true empathy of a real-world relationship. Our brains are not evolved for this type of interaction. We are wired for face-to-face contact, for the subtle cues of body language, for the shared experience of being in the same physical space. Digital interactions, no matter how frequent, often fail to satisfy this deep biological need for true connection. This can create a strange paradox. We can be connected to thousands of people online, yet feel utterly and completely alone. The constant exposure to the curated highlight reels of others' lives can also increase our sense of isolation, making us feel that our own less than perfect reality is abnormal. The very tool that promised to bring us together may be subtly driving us further apart, leaving us in a state of hyper-connected isolation.
Number 49. Secrets are a form of social currency. We think of secrets as burdens, as pieces of information to be hidden away out of shame or fear. The unsettling truth is that secrets are also a powerful and valuable form of social currency. The act of sharing a secret is one of the fastest and most effective ways to build a bond of intimacy and trust between two people. When you tell someone a secret, you are not just conveying information, you are sending a powerful meta-message. I trust you. I am choosing you to be in my inner circle. We now share a special, exclusive bond. This act creates an immediate sense of us against the rest of the world. Conversely, being the keeper of a secret can grant you a sense of status and power. Possessing information that others do not have can make you feel important and valuable within a social group. This is why the urge to share a secret can be so strong. It is not just about the information itself, but about the social capital that can be gained by sharing it. This dynamic reveals that our social interactions are often a complex marketplace of information. Trust is built, alliances are forged, and hierarchies are established through the careful and strategic exchange of these hidden pieces of currency. A secret is rarely just a secret. It is a tool for negotiating the intricate landscape of our social world.
Number 50. Forgiveness is a selfish act to free yourself, not them. We are taught that forgiveness is a noble, selfless, and altruistic act that we bestow upon someone who has wronged us. We see it as a gift we give to the other person, a way of letting them off the hook. The unsettling truth is that genuine forgiveness is often a profoundly selfish act, and that is precisely what makes it so powerful. When you hold on to anger, resentment, and a desire for revenge, the person you are primarily harming is yourself. You are forcing your own body and mind to live in a constant low-grade state of stress, replaying a painful past event and keeping its toxic emotional energy alive within you. The person who wronged you may have moved on with their life, perhaps not even remembering what they did. But you are the one who continues to drink the poison, hoping that they will be the one to suffer. Forgiveness in this context is not about condoning the other person's actions or saying that what they did was okay. It is not about reconciliation. It is the unilateral decision to stop carrying the heavy burden of resentment for your own sake. It is the act of saying, I will no longer allow what you did in the past to poison my present. It is a declaration of emotional freedom. It is a selfish act in the best possible sense of the word. It is an act of profound self-preservation. Number 51. The system is designed for the rich to get richer. We are often told that our economic system is a fair playing field where anyone can succeed through hard work and determination. The unsettling truth is that the system is not designed for fairness. It is designed to maintain and amplify existing advantages. This phenomenon is known as the Matthew effect, from a biblical verse that states, "For to everyone who has, more will be given." In simple terms, it means the rich get richer. Those who start with an advantage, whether it's money, connections, or education, are placed in a position where they can accumulate more advantages at an accelerating rate. Capital generates more capital. Wealth creates opportunities that are inaccessible to those without it. This creates a powerful feedback loop that concentrates wealth and power at the very top. This is not necessarily the result of a malicious conspiracy, but the natural emergent property of a system based on compound growth. While individual stories of rags to riches do exist, they are the statistical outliers, often highlighted to maintain the illusion that the system is open to everyone equally.
The far more common reality is that economic mobility is incredibly difficult, and the single greatest predictor of your future wealth is the wealth of the family you were born into. The system is less like a ladder and more like an escalator for those already at the top.
Number 52. Your hard work is only a small part of your success. Luck and birthright are bigger. Our culture glorifies the self-made individual. We celebrate stories of people who achieved great success through sheer grit, talent, and hard work. We are taught that we are the sole architects of our own achievements. The unsettling truth is that personal effort is only one variable in a much more complex equation. The hidden and often larger variables are luck and birthright. The geopolitical lottery, the country, the decade, and the family you were born into is the single greatest determinant of your life's opportunities and potential success. Being born in a stable, prosperous country with access to good education and healthcare gives you an insurmountable advantage over someone born into poverty or conflict. Furthermore, pure dumb luck plays a massive role. Being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right person, or having a random idea that happens to align with a market trend can be far more impactful than years of dedicated effort. We tend to create narratives of our success that emphasize our own skill and downplay the role of chance because it gives us a sense of control and makes us feel deserving. But the uncomfortable reality is that the landscape of success is not a level playing field. It is a complex interplay of effort, privilege, and pure, unadulterated randomness. Number 53. Your desires are often manufactured to make you want things you don't need. You believe your desires are your own. When you want a new phone, a particular brand of clothing, or a specific type of car, you feel that this desire originates from within you, from your own personal taste and needs. The unsettling truth is that many of your strongest desires have been meticulously and deliberately manufactured by an external force, the multi-trillion-dollar advertising industry. The primary function of modern advertising is not to inform you about products that meet your existing needs. It is to create a sense of lack, inadequacy, and dissatisfaction with your current life, and then to present a product as the solution to that manufactured problem. Advertising works by associating products with our deepest, universal human needs. The need for love, for status, for belonging, for safety, and for self-esteem. It doesn't sell you a watch, it sells you an image of success. It doesn't sell you a soft drink, it sells you a feeling of youthful joy and connection. Over time, through constant repetition, your subconscious mind begins to associate the product with the feeling. The desire you feel is not for the object itself, but for the emotional state it has been programmed to represent. You are not a consumer making rational choices. You are often a patient responding to a carefully administered dose of psychological manipulation. Number 54. Freedom of choice has been weaponized to keep you paralyzed and dissatisfied. Freedom of choice is held up as one of our highest modern values. We believe that more options lead to more freedom and therefore more happiness. The unsettling truth is that an overabundance of choice often has the opposite effect. It leads to a state of anxiety, paralysis, and chronic dissatisfaction. This phenomenon is known as the paradox of choice.
When faced with a manageable number of options, we feel empowered. But when faced with hundreds of options for something as simple as a brand of toothpaste or a type of coffee, the decision-making process becomes a source of stress. First, it leads to analysis paralysis. The sheer volume of information to be evaluated is overwhelming, causing us to delay a decision or avoid making one altogether. Second, even after we have made a choice, the existence of so many other options makes us more likely to experience regret and dissatisfaction. We find ourselves wondering, did I make the right choice? Maybe one of the other options would have been better. This constant what-if thinking erodes the pleasure we get from the choice we actually made. In a world of infinite options, the bar for a perfect choice is impossibly high. The freedom to choose from 1,000 different paths has, paradoxically, become a cage, trapping us in a state of perpetual anxiety and buyer's remorse. Number 55. Your outrage is a commodity that is farmed and sold for profit. You feel a sense of moral outrage when you see injustice or read a provocative headline. You believe this anger is a pure, righteous, and personal response to the events of the world. The unsettling truth is that your outrage has become one of the most valuable and efficiently farmed commodities in the modern digital economy. News organizations, social media platforms, and political groups have discovered that the most powerful way to capture and hold your attention is to trigger your anger. The algorithms that govern your news feeds are not optimized to inform you or to present a balanced view of the world. They are optimized for engagement. And nothing generates more engagement, more clicks, more comments, more shares than outrage. A story that makes you feel calm and content is a dead end for the algorithm. A story that makes your blood boil, that makes you feel that your tribe is under attack, is a gold mine. It keeps you scrolling, clicking, and arguing, generating valuable data and ad revenue. You are not a citizen being informed. You are a user whose emotional responses are being systematically harvested and monetized. The constant low-grade anger and division that characterizes so much of modern discourse is not an accident. It is the profitable and intended result of a system designed to keep us hooked by keeping us angry. Number 56. Normality is a set of rules created by a past generation to control the present. We have a strong sense of what is normal. We instinctively feel what is acceptable behavior, what is a proper way to live, and what is a strange or deviant choice. We tend to think of this normality as a natural, timeless, and objective standard. The unsettling truth is that what we call normal is nothing more than a collection of social constructs, a set of rules and expectations that were created by previous generations to make sense of their world and to maintain social order. These rules are not based on any absolute truth. They are culturally and historically specific agreements. What is considered normal in one culture is considered bizarre in another. What was normal 50 years ago is considered unacceptable today. Yet the power of these inherited norms is immense. They operate as a form of invisible social control, guiding our choices about our careers, our relationships, our appearance, and our very definition of success. We often follow these rules without ever consciously questioning them. We feel a sense of anxiety or shame when we deviate from the normal path, because our subconscious mind understands that social conformity is a strategy for safety and belonging. The unsettling reality is that you are living your life according to a set of inherited, often arbitrary, and invisible rules that you never consciously agreed to. Number 57. The dominant narrative of your culture is a story, not a fact. Every culture, every nation has a dominant narrative. It is the grand story it tells about itself, its origins, its values, its heroes, its villains, and its place in the world. We are born into this narrative, and we absorb it as if it were objective truth, as fundamental as the law of gravity. The unsettling truth is that this dominant narrative is not a fact. It is a story. It is a carefully constructed, highly selective, and often mythological account designed to create a sense of shared identity, purpose, and national pride. These narratives always involve a process of simplification and omission. They highlight the triumphs and conveniently forget the atrocities. They create clear-cut heroes and villains, smoothing over the messy, complex, and often contradictory reality of history. These stories are powerful because they provide a sense of meaning and belonging. They answer the question, who are we? But they can also be dangerous. When we mistake our culture's story for an absolute truth, it can lead to nationalism, xenophobia, and an inability to critically examine our own society's flaws. Recognizing that your own cultural narrative is a story, just one of many possible stories, is a profound act of intellectual liberation. It allows you to see the world with greater clarity and to appreciate the different, equally valid stories that other cultures tell about themselves. Number 58. Society functions on noble lies that everyone agrees to believe. The philosopher Plato first conceived of the noble lie, a myth or untruth knowingly propagated by a ruling class to maintain social harmony and keep the populace in line. We like to think that our modern enlightened societies have moved beyond such things. The unsettling truth is that our society, like all societies, is built upon a foundation of powerful and essential noble lies. These are the foundational myths that everyone implicitly agrees to believe, or at least not to question, because to do so would threaten the very stability of our social order. One such lie is the idea that justice is blind, that the law is applied equally to all, regardless of wealth or status. While this is the ideal we strive for, the reality is far more complex and often inequitable. Another is the myth that anyone can become anything they want if they just work hard enough, which ignores the immense structural and systemic barriers that exist. These are noble lies because they serve a purpose. They inspire hope, they encourage effort, and they promote a sense of fairness that prevents widespread social unrest. We collectively participate in these fictions because we recognize, at some subconscious level, that a society based on a comforting lie is often more stable and functional than one based on a harsh, uncomfortable truth. Our world is held together not just by laws and institutions, but by a delicate web of shared, necessary delusions. Number 59. The news doesn't tell you what's important. It tells you what to be afraid of. We turn to the news to be informed, to understand the significant events happening in our city, our country, and our world. We believe we are getting a rational, objective overview of what is important. The unsettling truth is that the primary business model of most news media is not information, but attention. And the most effective way to capture and hold human attention is through fear. As a result, the news you consume does not provide a statistically accurate picture of the world's risks and priorities. It provides a picture of what is most sensational, most dramatic, and most likely to trigger your primal fear response. The adage, "If it bleeds, it leads," is a neurological reality. Our brains are hardwired to pay immediate and intense attention to threats. A single rare plane crash will receive more coverage than the thousands of daily deaths from heart disease. A frightening but statistically insignificant local crime will feel more urgent than the slow, complex, and far more impactful issue of climate change. The news creates a fear-based model of reality, distorting our perception of risk and leading to chronic low-grade anxiety. It doesn't tell you what is most likely to happen, but what is most frightening to imagine. Understanding this allows you to consume news with a critical filter, recognizing it not as objective reality, but as a curated feed of fear.
Number 60. The act of labeling someone changes your ability to see them as human. Our brains are pattern-making machines. To navigate a complex world, we must simplify it by placing things and people into categories. We use labels: conservative, liberal, immigrant, CEO, artist. We believe these labels are simple descriptors. The unsettling truth is that the act of applying a label to a person fundamentally changes how we perceive them, often stripping them of their individual humanity. Once we have placed someone in a labeled box, our brain tends to stop seeing the complex, contradictory, and unique individual. Instead, we begin to see only the label and all the preconceived stereotypes, biases, and judgments we have associated with that category. This is a form of cognitive efficiency, but it is also the root of prejudice and dehumanization. It is much easier to dismiss, to dislike, or even to harm a label than it is to harm a fellow complex human being. Once we have placed someone in a labeled box, our brain tends to stop seeing the complex, contradictory, and unique individual. Instead, we begin to see only the label and all the preconceived stereotypes, biases, and judgments we have associated with that category. This is a form of cognitive efficiency, but it is also the root of prejudice and dehumanization. It is much easier to dismiss, to dislike, or even to harm a label than it is to harm a fellow complex human being. The label creates a psychological distance. It transforms a person with hopes, fears, and a family into a one-dimensional representative of a group. This is why political and social conflicts so often rely on the creation of powerful, emotionally charged labels for the other side. Recognizing this is a profound moral and psychological challenge. It requires us to actively fight against our brain's natural tendency to simplify, and to make a constant, conscious effort to see the individual human being behind the convenient and often dangerous label.
Number 61. Progress is often just a new flavor of the same old problems. We hold a deep and comforting belief in the idea of linear progress. We believe that history is a story of humanity constantly improving, solving old problems, and moving towards a better, more enlightened future. The unsettling truth is that what we call progress is often just a lateral move, a trade-off where we exchange one set of problems for another, often more complex set of problems. We have not eliminated our problems, we have simply upgraded them. We solved the problem of food scarcity for much of the world with industrial agriculture, but in doing so, we created new problems of environmental degradation, chronic disease, and a fragile global supply chain. We solved the problem of distance and isolation with the internet and social media, but we created new problems of digital addiction, misinformation, and social alienation. We solved many infectious diseases with antibiotics, but we created the new problem of antibiotic-resistant superbugs. This is not to say that life is not better in many ways, but it is to challenge the simplistic utopian narrative of progress. History is not a straight line moving ever upwards. It is a complex, cyclical process of problem-solving and problem creation. Recognizing this fosters a more realistic and humble view of our own era and its challenges. Number 62. The global economy requires infinite growth on a finite planet. Our entire global economic system, regardless of political ideology, is built upon a single, foundational, and unquestioned assumption: the necessity of perpetual growth. Economic health is measured by gross domestic product, GDP, and a healthy economy is one that is constantly expanding, producing more, consuming more, and generating more profit year after year. The unsettling truth is that this fundamental requirement of infinite economic growth is in direct and violent conflict with the reality of living on a planet with finite resources. This is not a political or ideological statement. It is a simple, mathematical, and ecological certainty. You cannot have infinite growth in a closed system. This central paradox is the single greatest and most quietly ignored challenge of our time. We are attempting to run a planetary operating system on a piece of hardware that cannot support it indefinitely. This creates a deep systemic pressure to prioritize short-term profit over long-term sustainability. It forces us to consume resources at an unsustainable rate and to ignore the environmental costs that will inevitably be paid by future generations. The comforting narratives of green growth or sustainable development are often attempts to reconcile this fundamental contradiction, but the underlying paradox remains. Our entire way of life is predicated on a mathematical impossibility. Number 63. You were taught to be a good employee, not a free thinker. From a very young age, our modern education system begins to shape us. We are taught to sit in neat rows, to raise our hands to speak, to follow instructions, to memorize information, and to be rewarded for providing the correct answer. We believe this system is designed to make us intelligent and well-rounded individuals. The unsettling truth is that for much of its history, the primary, albeit often unstated, purpose of mass public education was to create a compliant, punctual, and disciplined workforce for the industrial age. It was designed to teach you how to be a good employee, not necessarily a free, creative, or critical thinker. The structure of the school day, with its bells and segmented periods, mirrors the structure of a factory floor. The emphasis on standardized testing and rote memorization often prioritizes conformity over genuine curiosity. The system rewards those who are good at following rules and providing expected answers, while it can often penalize those who question authority, challenge the curriculum, or think in unconventional ways. While many individual teachers are heroic in their efforts to foster true learning, the overall structure itself is an inherited relic of an economic system that required a large population of obedient workers. This is unsettling because it suggests that the very system designed to educate us may have also been designed to limit the scope of our thinking. Number 64. Debt is a modern form of indentured servitude. We see debt as a normal part of modern life, a tool that allows us to buy homes, get an education, or start a business. The unsettling truth is that debt, in its current, pervasive form, has become a powerful and sophisticated system of social control, a modern form of indentured servitude. When a person is heavily in debt, whether it is student loans, a mortgage, or credit card debt, their choices become severely limited. They are no longer free to pursue a passion that might not be lucrative, to leave a job they despise, or to take risks that might lead to a more fulfilling life. Their primary obligation is to service their debt. Their time and their labor are, in a very real sense, owned by their creditors. They must continue to work within the existing economic system, often in jobs that bring them no joy, simply to make their monthly payments. This creates a compliant, anxious, and risk-averse population, which is highly beneficial for maintaining a stable social and economic order. A person in debt is a person who is less likely to challenge the status quo. The system that encourages and normalizes the taking on of massive debt from a young age is not just a financial system. It is a system of social engineering that ensures a steady supply of obedient and motivated workers for decades to come. Number 65. Your attention is the most valuable resource on earth, and you give it away for free. In the information age, the new global currency is not gold, oil, or money. It is human attention. The unsettling truth is that your attention is the most valuable and sought-after resource on the planet, and you are giving it away every day for free, often to the very companies that profit from its capture. Every app on your phone, every social media feed, every news website, and every streaming service is engaged in a relentless, zero-sum war for a piece of your conscious awareness. They employ armies of psychologists, neuroscientists, and data analysts to design their products to be as addictive as possible, to hijack your brain's dopamine reward system, and to keep you scrolling, clicking, and watching. You believe you are just relaxing or killing time, but in reality, your attention is being harvested and sold to the highest bidder, the advertisers. You are not the customer of these free platforms. You are the product. Your eyeballs and your time are the commodities being traded. This is unsettling because it means that a powerful external force is constantly working to manipulate your focus and drain your most precious resource. Every moment you spend passively consuming content designed to addict you is a moment you are not spending on your own goals, your relationships, or your inner peace. The battle for your attention is the battle for your life. Number 66. The law and justice are two entirely different things. We are raised to believe that the law is the embodiment of justice. We see the scales of justice and assume that our legal systems are designed to produce fair and moral outcomes. The unsettling truth is that the law and justice are two entirely different and often conflicting concepts. The law is a set of rules, procedures, and regulations created by a society to maintain order and resolve disputes. It is a technical system. Justice, on the other hand, is a deep, philosophical, and moral concept about what is right, what is fair, and what is equitable. A law can be perfectly legal, yet profoundly unjust. Throughout history, slavery, segregation, and the denial of rights to women were all codified in law. They were legal, but they were not just. In modern times, a wealthy individual with a team of skilled lawyers can often navigate the legal system to achieve a legal outcome that the average person would find deeply unjust. The legal system is not a battle for truth. It is an adversarial game where the outcome is often determined by resources, technical skill, and the ability to manipulate the rules, not by the moral rightness of the cause. Believing that a legal verdict is always synonymous with a just outcome is a comforting but dangerous illusion. Number 67. Large organizations are designed to diffuse individual responsibility for harm. When we see harm being done by a large corporation or a government agency, we search for the single bad apple to blame. We want to find the malicious individual who is responsible. The unsettling truth is that large organizations are often structured in a way that diffuses and obscures individual moral responsibility, allowing good people to collectively produce harmful outcomes without any single person feeling personally culpable. This is the nature of bureaucracy. Tasks are broken down into such small, compartmentalized steps that no single person sees the full picture of the consequences of their actions. One person designs a small component, another writes a piece of code, a third files a report, and a fourth approves a budget. Each person is simply doing their job. They can follow orders and meet their performance metrics without ever having to confront the final, often destructive result of their collective labor. This is known as the diffusion of responsibility. When everyone is a small cog in a giant machine, no one feels like they are the one driving it. This allows for systemic harm to occur, not necessarily out of malice, but out of a collective, bureaucratic indifference. It is a system that is perfectly designed to separate an action from its consequences, thereby protecting the conscience of the individuals within it. Number 68. Scapegoats are created so you don't have to face systemic flaws. When a society faces a complex, difficult, or frightening problem, an economic downturn, a pandemic, social unrest, the natural human tendency is to seek a simple, clear, and identifiable cause. The unsettling truth is that we often invent a cause, a scapegoat, in order to avoid confronting the far more terrifying reality of complex, systemic failure. A scapegoat is an individual or a group that is unfairly blamed for the problems of the whole. The act of blaming the scapegoat provides a powerful psychological release. It gives us a clear target for our anger and fear. It simplifies a complex problem into a simple story of good versus evil. Most importantly, it absolves us and the systems we participate in of any responsibility. If we can blame a specific group of people for our problems, then we don't have to engage in the difficult and painful work of examining the flaws in our own economic, political, or social structures. The creation of a scapegoat is a powerful tool used by those in power to redirect public anger and maintain the status quo. It is easier to unite people against a common enemy than it is to unite them to fix a complex, shared problem. The uncomfortable reality is that the presence of a popular scapegoat is often a clear sign that a society is refusing to look in the mirror. Number 69. Your vote is more of a symbol than a decisive power. We are taught that voting is the cornerstone of democracy, our most sacred right and our most powerful tool for enacting change. We believe that our individual vote is a decisive act that shapes the course of our nation. The unsettling truth is that, in a purely statistical sense, your individual vote is almost meaningless. In an election with millions of voters, the mathematical probability of your single vote being the one that decides the outcome is infinitesimally small, practically zero. The chances of you being in a car accident on the way to the polling station are orders of magnitude higher. So why do we feel so strongly about it? Because the act of voting is not primarily about its statistical impact. It is a powerful social and psychological ritual. It is a symbolic act of affirming your identity as a citizen and your allegiance to a particular tribe. It is a way of participating in a shared civic narrative that gives us a sense of agency and belonging. The feeling of doing our part is psychologically rewarding, regardless of the actual outcome. This is not to say that voting is pointless. Collective action certainly matters, but it is to reveal the unsettling disconnect between the perceived power of our individual action and its actual statistical reality. We are participating in a powerful symbol of control, more than an actual instrument of control. Number 70. The things you own are designed to break. You buy a new phone, a new appliance, or a new car, and you expect it to last. You believe that companies are trying to make the best, most durable products possible. The unsettling truth is that a significant part of our modern economy is built upon a strategy known as planned obsolescence. This is the deliberate industrial design of a product with a limited lifespan, so that it will become obsolete or non-functional after a certain period of time. This is not a bug, it is a feature. It is a strategy designed to ensure that you, the consumer, will be forced to buy a new product, thus guaranteeing a steady stream of revenue for the company. This can be achieved in several ways. Products can be made with lower quality components that are known to fail after a certain number of uses. They can be designed in a way that makes them difficult or impossible to repair, forcing you to replace the entire unit. Or obsolescence can be driven by software, where new updates intentionally slow down older devices or are incompatible with them, making them feel outdated and frustrating to use. This creates a perpetual cycle of consumption. The uncomfortable reality is that the new shiny object you just bought was likely born with a predetermined death date, a secret known only to its creators, designed to keep you on the treadmill of consumerism forever.
Number 71. The country you were born in is the single greatest predictor of your success. We cherish the idea of the self-made person, the belief that anyone from anywhere can achieve greatness through sheer will and hard work. We celebrate stories of individuals who overcame humble beginnings to reach the pinnacle of success. The unsettling truth is that the single greatest and most powerful predictor of your overall life success, your health, and your economic well-being is not your talent, your ambition, or your work ethic. It is the simple, random lottery of your birth, the country you were born into. Being born in a stable, peaceful, and prosperous nation with access to clean water, reliable infrastructure, quality education, and a functioning legal system gives you an advantage so immense it is almost impossible to overstate. The opportunities available to you, your baseline level of safety, and your potential for economic mobility are largely determined by the passport you hold. The vast majority of human potential throughout history and across the globe has been constrained not by a lack of individual ability, but by the systemic limitations of the society into which they were born. This is a deeply uncomfortable truth because it shatters the myth of a purely meritocratic world. It forces us to acknowledge that the success we enjoy is often less a product of our own individual virtue and more a product of the immense unearned privilege of our circumstances. Number 72. Your perception of time is a socially constructed agreement. We experience time as a fundamental, objective, and universal reality. A minute is a minute, an hour is an hour, and the calendar moves forward with unwavering consistency. The unsettling truth is that our rigid, standardized perception of time is a relatively recent human invention, a social construct designed to facilitate the needs of the industrial age and a global economy. For most of human history, time was fluid, cyclical, and local. It was measured by the rising and setting of the sun, the changing of the seasons, and the natural rhythms of the agricultural cycle. There was no need for the precise minute-by-minute synchronization that our modern world demands. The invention of the mechanical clock and later the imposition of standardized time zones was a radical shift. It divorced our experience of time from the natural world and tethered it to an abstract mechanical grid. This was necessary for coordinating factories, running train schedules, and managing a global marketplace. We have all agreed to live within this shared artificial construct, and our subconscious minds have so deeply internalized it that it now feels like an objective law of nature. But it is, in essence, a collective agreement, a story we tell ourselves about how the day should be divided. This is unsettling because it reveals that even our most basic perception of reality is a cultural artifact, not a fundamental truth. Number 73. There is no such thing as a free market. The concept of the free market is a cornerstone of modern economic ideology. It evokes an image of a natural, self-regulating system where buyers and sellers interact freely based on supply and demand without any external interference. The unsettling truth is that a pure, truly free market has never existed and can never exist. Every market, without exception, operates within a complex and often invisible framework of man-made rules, regulations, subsidies, and legal structures that are created and enforced by governments. The question is not whether a market is regulated, but how it is regulated and in whose favor IAN rules are written. The legal system defines property rights, enforces contracts, and sets the rules for bankruptcy. Government regulations set safety standards, environmental protections, and labor laws. Tax policies and subsidies are used to incentivize certain industries and penalize others. The very currency we use is a government-controlled entity. These are not minor details, they are the fundamental architecture that shapes the entire market. The idea of a free market is a powerful political narrative, often used to argue against regulations that might benefit labor or the environment at the expense of corporate profits. But the uncomfortable reality is that the invisible hand of the market is always attached to the very visible arm of the state. Number 74. History is the propaganda of the winning side. We are taught to see history as an objective, factual account of past events. We read history books believing we are getting a neutral and accurate record of what truly happened. The unsettling truth is that history is not an objective science. It is a narrative, and that narrative is almost always written, curated, and controlled by the victors. The groups that win wars, that consolidate power, and that control the institutions of education are the ones who get to write the official story. In this story, they are inevitably cast as the heroes, their actions as just, and their motives as noble. The perspectives, the suffering, and even the existence of the losing side are often minimized, distorted, or erased entirely. The heroes of one nation are often the villains of another. The glorious revolution for one group is the brutal conquest for another. What we call history is, in large part, the propaganda of the past. It is a collection of stories that have been selected and framed to legitimize the current power structures. To find a more accurate picture requires a critical and often uncomfortable effort to seek out the suppressed voices, the forgotten accounts, and the histories written from the perspective of the vanquished. It requires us to question the very foundations of the stories we have been told about who we are and where we come from. Number 75. Your job probably doesn't need to exist. In our society, our job is often the core of our identity. It gives us a sense of purpose, a social standing, and the financial means to survive. We believe that our work contributes in some meaningful way to the functioning of society. The unsettling truth, as argued by the anthropologist David Graeber, is that a vast and growing number of modern jobs are, in essence, pointless. These bullshit jobs, as he called them, exist not because they produce anything of real value, but because of complex administrative, corporate, or bureaucratic inefficiencies. These roles often involve performing tasks that the employees themselves secretly believe are unnecessary.
From writing corporate reports that no one reads, to managing other people who manage other people, to lobbying for industries that create more problems than they solve. These jobs are the result of a system that values the appearance of busyness over actual productivity, and a social belief that everyone must work a 40-hour week to be a worthy member of society. The unsettling reality is that if millions of these administrative and corporate roles were to disappear overnight, the world would likely continue to function just fine, and perhaps even more efficiently. Many people are dedicating the majority of their one and only life to performing tasks that they know, in their heart of hearts, serve no real purpose.
Number 76. The universe is governed by randomness, not by fairness. We have a deep primal need to believe that the world is a just and orderly place. We want to believe in karma, in cosmic justice, and in the idea that good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. The unsettling truth is that the universe is not a moral entity. It does not operate on principles of fairness. It operates on the impersonal and often chaotic principles of physics, chemistry, and probability. Randomness plays a far larger and more significant role in our lives than our ego is comfortable admitting. A person can live a virtuous and healthy life and still be struck by a random, devastating illness. A person can be cruel and selfish and still be born into immense wealth and privilege. A natural disaster does not distinguish between the righteous and the wicked. We spend a great deal of our mental energy trying to create narratives that explain these random events, to find a reason, a purpose, or someone to blame. But the uncomfortable reality is that there is often no reason. The universe is not for you, nor is it against you. It is simply indifferent. Accepting this can be terrifying, as it removes the comforting blanket of a just world. But it can also be liberating, freeing us from the burden of trying to understand the why behind every senseless event.
Number 77. The universe does not care about your plans. We make plans, we set 5-year goals, we map out our careers, we create detailed visions for our future. We operate under the assumption that we can, through careful planning and diligent effort, control the trajectory of our lives. The unsettling truth is that the universe is profoundly and completely indifferent to your plans. You are a tiny, fragile organism existing on a small rock, hurtling through an unimaginably vast and chaotic cosmos. The number of variables that are completely outside of your control is practically infinite. A sudden economic collapse, a new technological disruption, a global pandemic, a personal health crisis, or a chance encounter with another person can all instantly and irrevocably alter the course of your life, rendering your carefully crafted plans obsolete. This is not to say that planning is useless. It provides direction and focus. But clinging too tightly to a specific plan, believing it is a guaranteed path to a specific outcome, is a recipe for frustration and disappointment. The Stoic philosophers understood this well. They taught that we should focus on our intentions and our actions, the things we can control, and practice a serene acceptance of the outcomes, which we cannot. The universe is not a business partner that will honor your strategic plan. It is a wild and unpredictable ocean, and the best we can do is learn to be a skilled and adaptable sailor. Number 78. Most good deeds are motivated by self-interest. We like to believe in pure altruism, the selfless act of helping others with no expectation of reward. We see it as the pinnacle of human morality. The unsettling truth, when examined through the lens of evolutionary psychology and behavioral economics, is that most acts of kindness and generosity are, at their core, driven by a complex web of self-interest. This does not necessarily mean they are bad. It simply means they are not as pure as we like to imagine. We perform good deeds because it makes us feel good about ourselves, providing a powerful rush of positive emotions and boosting our self-esteem. We are kind to others because we want to be seen as a good person, which enhances our social status and reputation within our tribe. We help others with the subconscious expectation of reciprocity, knowing that building a network of social debt is a wise survival strategy. We may even be driven by the desire to alleviate our own discomfort at seeing another person suffer. While the outcome of the action is positive for the receiver, the deep underlying motivation is often a sophisticated strategy for our own emotional and social well-being. This truth is uncomfortable because it challenges our ego's desire to see itself as purely noble. It reveals that our morality is a far more complex and self-interested mechanism than we care to admit. Number 79. We prefer a comforting group lie over a lonely individual truth. We see ourselves as individuals who value truth and objectivity above all else. We believe we would stand up for the facts, even if it made us unpopular. The unsettling truth is that for our deeply social brains, the need for belonging is often far more powerful than the need to be right. We will frequently and willingly choose to believe in a comforting shared group delusion rather than face a lonely, isolating individual truth. The psychological comfort and safety of being a member in good standing of our tribe often outweighs the intellectual satisfaction of objective accuracy. This is because dissenting from the group's core beliefs is perceived by our primal brain as a form of social suicide. It risks ostracism, ridicule, and exclusion. A shared lie, on the other hand, strengthens social bonds. It creates a clear in-group of believers and an out-group of heretics. Participating in the shared delusion is a powerful act of social signaling that says, "I am one of you, I am loyal, you can trust me." This is why entire communities, organizations, and even nations can continue to believe in things that are factually untrue. They are not necessarily unintelligent. They are simply prioritizing social cohesion over objective reality. The comfort of belonging to the group is a more powerful motivator than the cold and often lonely pursuit of truth. Number 80. The true self you're trying to find doesn't actually exist. There is a pervasive and romantic myth in our culture. The idea that there is a single, authentic, true self hidden deep within us, and that our life's purpose is to find it. We are told to be true to yourself and to find who you really are. The unsettling truth is that this static, core self that you are searching for probably does not exist. You are not a solid, unchanging statue waiting to be discovered. You are a fluid, dynamic, and constantly evolving process. The you that exists right now is a temporary convergence of your current beliefs, your habits, your relationships, and your context. As we've explored, your memories are constantly being rewritten. Your personality is shaped by your environment, and you present different masks in different social situations. There is no single, unified entity underneath it all. There is only the continuous flow of becoming. The search for a true self can be a trap, leading to frustration and the feeling that you are failing to find something that was never there. A more liberating perspective is to see yourself not as something to be found, but as something to be created. You are the artist, and your life is your canvas. Instead of asking, "Who am I?" a more powerful question is, "Who do I choose to become today?"
Number 81. Absolute freedom is terrifying, so you actively seek cages. We claim to cherish freedom above all else. We fight for it, we celebrate it, and we believe it is the ultimate goal. The unsettling truth, as existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre pointed out, is that absolute, untethered freedom is not a comfort, it is a terrifying burden. To be completely free means to be completely responsible. If there are no preordained rules, no divine plan, and no inherent purpose to life, then you and you alone are responsible for creating your own values and justifying your own existence. Every choice you make is a choice you make for all of humanity, and the weight of that responsibility can be crushing. Because this radical freedom is so anxiety-inducing, we subconsciously seek out cages to limit our choices and alleviate this burden. These cages can be rigid ideologies, strict religious dogmas, demanding corporate careers, or all-consuming relationships. We adopt pre-packaged belief systems and follow prescribed life paths because they provide us with a sense of structure, a clear set of rules, and a predefined purpose. They give us the comfort of not having to create our meaning from scratch. We trade our absolute freedom for the psychological safety of a well-defined and socially approved cage. The uncomfortable reality is that many of the structures we complain about are the very structures we have subconsciously chosen to protect us from the terror of our own liberty. Number 82. Your desire for safety is in direct conflict with your desire for growth. You want to grow. You want to learn new skills, have new experiences, and become a more resilient and capable version of yourself. At the same time, you want to feel safe. You want to be comfortable, to avoid risk, and to stay within the bounds of what is familiar and predictable. The unsettling truth is that these two fundamental desires are in direct and perpetual conflict. They are opposing forces within your psyche, and you cannot fully satisfy both at the same time. Every significant choice in your life is a negotiation between these two drives. Genuine growth, by its very definition, can only occur at the edge of your comfort zone, in the realm of uncertainty and potential failure. To learn something new is to embrace the discomfort of not knowing. To start a new relationship is to risk the pain of heartbreak. To create something new is to risk criticism and rejection. Every step towards growth is a step away from safety. Conversely, every choice made purely for the sake of safety is a choice that limits growth.
Staying in a familiar but unfulfilling job is safe, but it prevents the growth that could come from a new challenge. The uncomfortable reality is that you must choose, moment by moment, which desire you will honor. A life of maximum safety is a life of minimum growth.
Number 83. You cannot escape yourself, no matter where you go. When we are unhappy with our lives, we often cling to a powerful fantasy, the geographic cure. We believe that if we could just move to a new city, a new country, or a new environment, our problems would disappear. We imagine that a change in scenery will lead to a change in self. The unsettling truth is that this is almost always an illusion. You cannot escape yourself, because no matter where you go, you take your own mind with you. You pack your old habits, your limiting beliefs, your unresolved emotional patterns, and your inner critic in your suitcase and bring them with you to your new destination. For a short time, the novelty of the new environment might be distracting enough to provide temporary relief. But inevitably, the same internal patterns will begin to reassert themselves. The same anxieties, the same insecurities, and the same relationship problems will surface, just in a different setting. This is because the source of the problem was never the external location, it was the internal architecture of your mind. The ancient Stoic philosophers knew this well. Seneca wrote, "Why do you wonder that globe-trotting does not help you, seeing that you always take yourself with you?" The uncomfortable reality is that true change is an inside job. It does not happen by changing your address, but by changing your mind.
Number 84. The universe is almost entirely empty and hostile to your existence. We live our lives on a thin, fragile crust of a small planet, surrounded by a breathable atmosphere and a comfortable climate. This creates the illusion that the universe is a hospitable place. The unsettling truth is that our Earth is a tiny, precious, and impossibly rare oasis in an overwhelmingly vast, empty, and brutally hostile cosmos. The normal state of the universe is not life. It is a near-perfect vacuum, close to absolute zero temperature and saturated with deadly radiation. The space between the stars is a void so immense that it is almost beyond human comprehension. And the objects within that space are no more welcoming. Stars are raging thermonuclear furnaces. Black holes are gravitational singularities that tear apart the fabric of space-time. The vast majority of planets we have discovered are either frozen ice balls or scorching gas giants. There is no air to breathe, no water to drink, and no protection from the constant bombardment of cosmic rays. The conditions that allow for the existence of complex, fragile life like ours are so extraordinarily rare that their existence is a statistical miracle. We are not the norm. We are a spectacular and likely very temporary exception. The universe is not our home. It is a terrifyingly beautiful and completely indifferent wilderness, and we are adrift in it on a single, tiny, fragile lifeboat. Number 85. Your sense of individuality is a biological illusion. You feel like a single, unified, and separate individual. You have a name, a body, and a sense of self that feels distinct from the world and from other people.
The unsettling truth is that this sense of a separate, individual self is a powerful and useful but ultimately illusory construct of our biology and our culture. From a biological perspective, you are not a single entity. You are a massive, walking ecosystem, a collection of trillions of individual cells working in cooperation. Furthermore, your body is home to an equal number, if not more, of non-human cells, bacteria, fungi, and viruses that make up your microbiome, which profoundly influences your health, your mood, and even your thoughts. From a physical perspective, you are not separate from your environment. You are constantly exchanging matter and energy with the world around you. The air you breathe, the food you eat, and the water you drink were all once part of the external world, and they will be again. From a psychological perspective, as we've seen, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your personality are largely a product of your culture, your language, and your interactions with others. The idea of a completely independent, self-made individual is a fiction. The uncomfortable but profound reality is that you are a temporary, dynamic pattern, a complex wave in the great, interconnected ocean of existence.
Number 86. Your morality is a product of your geography and your century. We hold our moral beliefs to be profound, objective, and universal truths. We feel in our bones that what we believe to be right and wrong are absolute standards that should apply to everyone, everywhere. The unsettling truth is that your moral compass is not an internal, divine instrument. It is, in large part, a cultural artifact, a product of the specific time and place you happened to be born in. The moral truths you hold dear are the inherited values and social norms of your particular tribe. If you had been born in a different century or in a different country on the other side of the world, you would almost certainly hold a completely different set of moral beliefs with the exact same sense of conviction and certainty. Practices that you find morally abhorrent today were considered perfectly normal and ethical in the past. Beliefs that you consider to be fundamental human rights are a relatively recent invention in the long span of human history. This is a deeply unsettling realization because it relativizes our most cherished values. It forces us to confront the possibility that there may be no absolute, universal moral truth, only a series of evolving, culturally specific agreements. Your sense of right and wrong is not a window into objective truth. It is a reflection of your geography.
Number 87. You don't find the truth, you create it. We embark on a noble quest for the truth. We believe it is an objective, external entity waiting to be discovered, like a hidden treasure or a distant star. We read, we study, we debate, all in the hopes of one day arriving at the final, ultimate truth about the world and our place in it. The unsettling truth is that truth may not be something you find at all. It may be something you create. Your brain does not passively receive reality, as we've learned, it actively constructs it. It takes the limited, ambiguous data from your senses and weaves it into a coherent story, a personal truth that is shaped by your beliefs, your language, and your past experiences. This is not to say that there is no objective reality, but that our access to it is always mediated through our own creative, interpretive lens. Every spiritual path, every scientific model, every philosophical system is not a direct photograph of reality, but a map, a story, a useful and beautiful creation that helps us navigate the territory. The map is not the territory. This is unsettling because it removes the comfort of certainty and the idea of a final destination for our quest. But it is also incredibly empowering. It means you are not just a seeker of truth, you are its co-creator. You have the power to choose the stories, the perspectives, and the interpretations that create the most meaningful, beautiful, and useful reality for yourself.
Number 88. Some things can be true and unprovable at the same time. Our modern scientific worldview has taught us to equate truth with provability. We believe that for a statement to be considered true, it must be verifiable through logic, evidence, and empirical testing. The unsettling truth, which was mathematically demonstrated by the logician Kurt Gödel in his incompleteness theorems, is that this is not always the case. Gödel proved that in any sufficiently complex formal system, such as mathematics, there will always be statements that are true, but can never be proven to be true within the system itself. The system is fundamentally incomplete. This profound discovery has staggering philosophical implications. It suggests that there are inherent limits to what our rational and logical systems can ever fully know. There may be deep truths about the nature of reality, of consciousness, or of the cosmos that are absolutely true, yet will forever lie beyond the reach of our mathematical or scientific proofs. This shatters the dream of a theory of everything that can be neatly written down and verified. It suggests that intuition, faith, and direct experience may be valid pathways to certain kinds of truth that are inaccessible to pure reason. The uncomfortable reality is that the universe may be structured in such a way that its deepest truths are, by their very nature, beyond our ability to logically prove, forcing us to rely on other ways of knowing.
Number 89. There is no such thing as an objective point of view. We strive for objectivity. We try to step back from our biases and see the world as it really is. We trust journalists, scientists, and judges to provide us with an objective, unbiased perspective. The unsettling truth is that a truly objective point of view is a logical and neurological impossibility. Every single observation of the world is made by a subject, and that subject, you, always has a specific position in space and time, a unique set of past experiences, a culturally programmed brain, and a limited sensory apparatus. There is no view from nowhere. You are always looking from somewhere. Every piece of information you receive is filtered through this unique personal lens. Even the most rigorous scientist must choose what to study, what to measure, and how to interpret the data, all of which are subjective choices influenced by their training and beliefs. Even a camera is not objective. Its perspective is determined by the person who places it and points it. The very act of observing changes the dynamic. This is not to say that all perspectives are equally valid or that facts don't exist. It is to say that our access to those facts is always and without exception subjective. The dream of a pure, unmediated, God's eye view of reality is just that, a dream. You are forever a participant in the reality you are observing.
Number 90. You are both meaningless to the universe and the center of your own. We grapple with two opposing and powerful ideas. On one hand, modern cosmology reveals our staggering insignificance. You are a fragile being on a tiny speck of dust, orbiting an average star in an unremarkable galaxy among hundreds of billions of other galaxies. In the vast cosmic timescale of billions of years, your entire life is less than a blink of an eye. From this perspective, you are, in a very real sense, completely and utterly meaningless. The universe existed long before you and will continue long after you, utterly indifferent to your existence. On the other hand, there is an equally undeniable truth. Your own consciousness is the only reality you will ever directly experience. From your subjective point of view, you are the absolute center of the universe. The entire cosmos, with all its stars and history, only exists for you as an experience within your own mind. When you are born, a universe is born. When you die, your universe dies. You are both an insignificant speck of dust and the godlike creator of your entire perceived reality. The unsettling truth is that both of these perspectives are simultaneously true. Living with this paradox, holding the tension between your cosmic insignificance and your subjective centrality, is a core challenge of the modern human condition. You are a meaningless miracle. You are a cosmic accident of profound importance. Number 91. The pursuit of certainty is the cause of most suffering. We crave certainty. In a chaotic and unpredictable world, we seek stable ground, a definitive belief system, a guaranteed outcome, a relationship that will last forever. We believe that if we can just find this certainty, we will find peace. The unsettling truth is that the relentless pursuit of certainty is itself one of the primary causes of our suffering. The universe, by its very nature, is a place of flux, change, and inherent uncertainty. To demand certainty from an uncertain world is to set yourself up for a lifetime of frustration, anxiety, and disappointment. This grasping for certainty is the root of dogmatism, where we cling to a belief system so tightly that we become blind to any contradictory evidence. It is the root of anxiety, where we torment ourselves by trying to predict and control the future that is fundamentally uncontrollable. It is the root of heartbreak, where we suffer because we expected permanence from a relationship that was always, by its nature, impermanent. The spiritual traditions have long taught that wisdom lies not in achieving certainty, but in cultivating the ability to be at peace with uncertainty. It is about learning to surf the waves of life rather than trying to command the ocean to be still. The uncomfortable reality is that peace is not found in the answer, but in the ability to comfortably inhabit the question.
Number 92. Awe is the experience of your ego dissolving. We seek out experiences of awe, standing before a vast mountain range, looking up at a star-filled night sky, or listening to a piece of music so beautiful it brings us to tears. We think of these as pleasurable, aesthetic experiences. The unsettling truth is that the profound feeling of awe is actually the experience of your own ego dissolving. Awe occurs when you are confronted with something so vast, so powerful, or so complex that your individual sense of self, with all its worries, ambitions, and self-importance, momentarily shrinks into insignificance. In that moment, the boundaries between you and the world become blurry. Your internal chatter stops. You are no longer a separate individual observing a landscape. You become one with the experience itself. This temporary dissolution of the ego is both terrifying and blissful. It is terrifying because the ego's primary job is to maintain its sense of separateness and control. It is blissful because it offers a brief respite from the constant burden of being you. This is why experiences of awe are so transformative and are often linked to increased feelings of connection, humility, and altruism. They are moments of sacred self-forgetting, a powerful reminder that you are a small part of something infinitely larger and more magnificent than your own individual story. Number 93. You will never be fully understood by anyone. One of our deepest human longings is the desire to be truly seen, to be fully and completely understood by another person. We seek a partner, a friend, or a soulmate who will know us so intimately that we no longer have to explain ourselves. We yearn for the comfort of perfect empathy. The unsettling truth is that this desire, in its absolute form, is impossible to fulfill. You will never be fully understood by anyone because your subjective experience of reality is fundamentally private. No one can enter the theater of your mind, feel your emotions exactly as you feel them, or see the world through the unique lens of your accumulated memories and beliefs. Others can get close. They can listen with compassion. They can empathize based on their own similar experiences, and they can love you deeply. But there will always be a final, unbridgeable gap between your consciousness and theirs. The words you use to describe your inner world are just imperfect pointers, not the experience itself. This can be a lonely and melancholic realization, but it can also be a liberating one. It releases others from the impossible burden of having to be your perfect psychic twin. It allows you to take full responsibility for your own feelings, and it makes those rare, fleeting moments of deep, partial understanding with another person all the more beautiful and precious. Number 94. The hardest person to forgive is often yourself. We often think of forgiveness as something we grant to others, a difficult but noble act of letting go of resentment towards someone who has wronged us. The unsettling truth is that for many of us, the hardest, most stubborn, and most elusive forgiveness is the one we must grant to ourselves. We are often our own harshest judges. We can hold on to our own past mistakes, our perceived failures, and our moments of weakness with a relentless and unforgiving grip. We replay these moments in our minds, bathing in self-criticism and shame, long after everyone else has forgotten or forgiven us. This lack of self-forgiveness is a powerful anchor that keeps us tethered to a past version of ourselves. It prevents us from growing, from taking new risks, and from believing that we are worthy of a better future. We subconsciously believe that by punishing ourselves, we are somehow atoning for our past transgressions. But this self-flagellation is a form of emotional prison. To truly forgive yourself is a profound act of liberation. It is not about condoning your past mistakes. It is about accepting your flawed humanity with compassion, acknowledging that you did the best you could with the knowledge and awareness you had at the time, and giving yourself permission to finally move on. It is the ultimate act of letting go.
Number 95. Consciousness is an inherently lonely experience. We are deeply social creatures, constantly surrounded by others, connected through language, culture, and technology. Yet, the unsettling truth at the very core of our existence is that consciousness is an inherently and inescapably lonely experience. Your subjective awareness is a private, sealed universe. You are the sole inhabitant of your own mind. No one else can ever truly enter this space, feel your feelings, or think your thoughts. You can describe your joy, your pain, or your perception of the color blue, but your description is just a report from an inaccessible inner world. The actual experience, the what it is like to be you, is yours and yours alone. This fundamental solitude is the source of a deep, existential loneliness that can persist even when we are surrounded by people we love. It is the quiet ache of knowing that we are ultimately alone with our own awareness. We spend our lives trying to bridge this gap through communication, through art, and through love, and these connections are profoundly meaningful. But they are always bridges between separate islands, never a complete merging of the land masses themselves. This is a hard truth to accept. But embracing it can also lead to a deeper appreciation for both our own inner world and the precious, imperfect connections we manage to forge with other, equally isolated consciousnesses. It is the shared secret of our separateness that, paradoxically, unites us all.
Number 96. Your life's meaning is created by its end. We spend our lives searching for meaning, hoping to find it in a career, a relationship, or a belief system. We think of meaning as something we discover and accumulate as we go along. The unsettling truth is that the ultimate meaning of your life is not found during the journey, but is created in retrospect by its end. It is the fact of your death, your mortality, that gives the entire story its shape, its context, and its significance. A story without an ending is not a story at all. It is just a sequence of events. The ending is what frames everything that came before it and allows a final meaning to emerge. Think of it like a novel. The meaning of the first chapter is often unclear until you have read the last. The ending recontextualizes everything. Similarly, the choices you make, the love you give, and the person you become take on their ultimate significance only when viewed against the backdrop of a finite lifespan. The fact that your time is limited is what makes your choices matter. This is the final and most profound paradox. Death is not the destroyer of meaning. It is the creator of it. It is the silent, unwritten final chapter that gives all the other chapters their weight, their beauty, and their ultimate purpose. We do not live despite the fact that we will die.
we live meaningfully because we will die.
Number 97. Your legacy is defined by what you gave away, not what you accumulated. Our society often defines success by accumulation. We are encouraged to accumulate wealth, possessions, titles, and accolades. We measure a life by what a person has gathered for themselves. The unsettling truth is that your true, enduring legacy will have almost nothing to do with what you accumulated. It will be defined entirely by what you gave away. When you are gone, no one will remember your bank balance, the size of your house, or the job title on your business card. These things are temporary and ultimately meaningless to others. What will remain, what will echo in the lives of those you've touched, is what you gave of yourself. They will remember the time you gave them when they needed a friend. They will remember the kindness you gave when they were struggling. They will remember the wisdom you gave that helped them see the world differently. They will remember the love you gave that made them feel worthy and safe. Your legacy is not the collection of things you kept for yourself. It is the sum total of the positive energy, the knowledge, and the love you put out into the world. It is the impact you had on other people's hearts. The great irony is that in order to create something immortal, you must give away the very things that society tells you to hoard. Number 98. The world will not notice your absence. Our ego, our sense of self-importance, likes to believe that we are a vital and indispensable part of the world. We feel that our presence matters, that our friends, our family, and our workplace would be lost without us. The unsettling truth is that while your absence would be deeply and profoundly felt by a small circle of loved ones, the world at large will not notice you are gone. The grand, complex, and indifferent machinery of society will continue to turn without skipping a beat. The sun will rise, the traffic will flow, the news will be reported, and the global economy will continue its relentless churn. This is a deeply humbling and, for the ego, a deeply painful realization. It forces us to confront our own cosmic insignificance. We are not the indispensable cog in the machine we imagine ourselves to be. We are a temporary pattern, a fleeting wave on a vast ocean. However, this truth can also be incredibly liberating. If the world does not demand your constant, vital presence, then you are free. You are free to live your life not for the sake of some imagined grand importance, but for the simple, profound, and authentic experience of being alive. It releases you from the pressure of having to be important and allows you to simply be. Your significance is not measured by the world's notice, but by the depth of your own experience. Number 99. Meaning is a choice you must make every day, not a treasure you find. We often think of meaning as something external, a grand purpose waiting to be discovered. We go on a quest to find our meaning, as if it were a hidden treasure or a secret key that, once found, will unlock a lifetime of fulfillment. The unsettling truth is that the universe does not come with a pre-packaged instruction manual or a built-in purpose. Meaning is not a treasure you find. It is a choice you make. It is a courageous and deliberate act of creation that you must undertake every single day. There is no inherent meaning in your job, in your relationships, or in your suffering. The meaning is what you consciously choose to assign to these things. You can choose to see your job as a soulless grind, or as an opportunity to serve and create value. You can choose to see a difficult relationship as a source of pain, or as a powerful lesson in compassion and boundaries. You can choose to see suffering as a meaningless punishment, or as a catalyst for profound growth. The universe is silent on the matter. It provides the raw, neutral material of your life, and it is your responsibility and your privilege to decide what it all means. Meaning is not a destination. It is the way you choose to walk the path. Number 100. You are 100% responsible for how you experience your reality. This is the final, most unsettling, and most empowering truth of all. While you cannot control the external events of your life, you have the potential for absolute control over your internal experience of those events. The unsettling truth is that you are 100% responsible for how you choose to experience your reality. Nothing and no one can make you feel a certain way. Events happen, people act, but the final interpretation, the meaning you assign, and the emotional response you generate are all happening within the domain of your own mind. This is the ultimate, inescapable responsibility of consciousness. This is often a difficult truth for the ego to accept, as it loves to play the role of the victim. It is much easier to blame our unhappiness on our boss, our partner, our past, or the state of the world. But this blame, while comforting, is a complete abdication of our power. The moment you fully accept this radical responsibility, you become free. You realize that your inner peace and your sense of well-being are not dependent on the external world aligning perfectly with your desires. They are dependent on your ability to master your own inner world. It is the understanding that your mind is the filter through which you experience everything, and you have the power to choose and to clean that filter every single day.